63-year-old Carol Tarrant is suing her granddaughter-in-law, 25-year-old nursing assistant Stacy Rollins, for breaking her wrist during an assault and for stealing her property.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, case number 245 on the calendar in the matter of Tarrant versus Rollins. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Ms. Tarrant, Ms. Rollins is or was married to your grandson.
Right.
And according to your complaint, she and your grandson lived with you for a period of time.
Yes.
And then they separated. She left.
Yes.
So far, is that correct?
Majority of it.
What's wrong with what I said?
We did live with her and everything, but my husband asked me to leave.
Well, you separated. That means you
Yes.
did separate.
Yes, and we are still married.
They separated.
Yes.
She left.
Yes.
And then you claim that she came back to get some of her property.
Yes,
When
twice.
she came back to get her property, there was an altercation involving you, as a result of which you broke your wrist in 4 places.
Yes.
And the defendant also took some property of yours.
Yes.
The defendant says you fell, she had nothing to do with breaking your wrist, and she has no property of yours. Is that right?
The only property I have of hers is this bag that she asked for. And I've been asked
Anything
my
in the
husband to
bag?
come get it. I have no idea. I've never opened it.
Can I get the bag?
It wasn't mine. I put it off to the side.
Okay. Let's see what's contained in the bag. And then we'll get to this altercation. Well, one of the things you said she took was the camera.
Right.
Is that right? This looks like a camera case. And there's a camera in here.
Yes.
Okay. And a couple of other rods and ends, but I assume that this is the majority of what you're asking for back.
Yes, it looks like.
Okay, good. So let's give this back to the plaintiff, please. So then we're just going to deal with this injury to your arm and this assault. A few questions. What date did your husband ask you to leave?
June 29th.
How long had you been living with the plaintiff?
We moved in there July 5th, 5 days after we were married.
Of the previous year? Mm-hmm. So you were there almost a year?
Almost a year.
And who moved in? You, your husband, and you have a child?
Yes.
How old is your child?
She's 5.
But she's not the child of this marriage?
No, she's not.
Now, when your husband asked you to leave, did he ask you to leave on the 29th of June?
Yes, he did.
So you must have had an argument.
I'm not really sure. He was been very stressed lately and said he needed some time and asked me to leave, and so
And you
I
did. When he asked you to leave, did you give him your key?
No, from my understanding, he just needed time. He just needed a little space.
And what did you tell Miss Tarrant when you left?
I did not speak to any of them.
Really? I mean, you
Yeah.
lived with the lady for a year. You didn't have any conversation with her at all?
No, my husband asked me to leave, and I grabbed my daughter and a couple things, and we left. I figured I was coming home that night.
But you didn't come home that night.
No, I did not.
Why not?
I said he needed more time.
Now, when was this incident when you did, in fact, return? And there was an incident involving Miss Tarrant and her wrist.
That was the first time I spoke to her. That was August 2nd.
Tell me about it.
We arrived at the house.
Who's we?
Me, my couple family members, my friends.
How many people arrived in the house?
Oh, in the house there was 9 total, I believe.
That you brought with you?
Yes, to move my things out. I had not spoken to my husband, refusing contact. I figured...
He refused contact?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I figured my daughter's going to be starting school, any more of her things, and I also needed more clothes. And so we went to go get my things, and upon arriving, found all of them packed up and shoved into one little room at the house.
How did you get into the house?
With the key.
The key that you had?
Yes.
Didn't it occur to you to call Miss Tarrant first and say, we're coming over to get my things?
Well, my things were there. My husband and I are still married. That is also my husband's home.
Does this home belong to whom?
Both her and my husband.
It's my home, but I put my grandson's name on it for when something happens to me, he'd be able to sell it.
When you met your husband, where was he living?
In an apartment.
In an apartment?
Yes, because he didn't want to live with his grandmother anymore.
Fine. But at some point you moved in with her.
Yes.
So you and your husband moved into her home.
Correct.
So it didn't occur to you, Miss Rollins, to pick up the phone as a human being and say to her, I'm coming with 9 people to your house to get my property? Is that time okay for you? Is that day okay for you? I haven't been there in over a month. That strike you as something that would have been a nice thing to do?
Well, every time I called the home or whatever, I was usually hung up on. So I did not have that opportunity.
Did you ever speak to her?
No.
Well, your husband works. Is that
Correct.
true? Did you
And that's why
understand?
we went during the day, because I knew he would be gone and she would be there. She usually never leaves the home.
Good, so that you knew that she would be there. Why didn't
Yeah.
you call her first and say, we're coming over to pick up my stuff? Is today a good time for you?
Because it was a good time for me and I was just going to go get my things.
Well, you got a lot of nerve. You got a lot of nerve. The lady takes you into her home with a child that's totally unrelated to her. You stay there for a year. You and your husband have some sort of a falling out, and I don't even want to get into that because I have no idea what it's about. But you're gone for well over a month. You don't come by yourself to pick up a few little things. You come with 9 people invading her house without so much as a telephone call first, and you expect her not to get agitated?
No, I understood why she was agitated.
You did.
But I also felt that, and she said herself that I was there to pick up my things.
But you understood she was agitated because 9 people invaded her house.
Oh, no, when she got there, none of us were in there. Except for the minister's wife, who was keeping her dogs under control so they didn't get loose.
Tell me how you broke your wrist.
After I came home and seen everything was in the trucks, I seen some things out in the truck that my grandson told me not to let her take. And so I was walking out toward the trucks. She grabbed a hold of my arm, and I have osteoarthritis, so I'm not really that stable. That's why I can't run. I have to walk slowly. And as she grabbed my arm and turned me around, I fell. And I went down on my right wrist.
You have the medical records?
Yes, I do.
Can I see them, please?
Can I get help? Because she has everything.
Sure.
What's that? Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to hear your version of what happened, how her wrist got broken.
I'm assuming her wrist got broken when she fell.
Yeah.
There
that's
was trucks and cars and everything in the driveway and so on. We were moving out. And she came out of the back porch door and started yelling. And then she had noticed a vacuum cleaner that was in the back of my stepfather's truck, which was parked out on the road. And she just said, "You're not taking that vacuum," and started running. And right about the part where the grass and the sidewalk meet, there's holes and everything in that yard, and I'm assuming she fell. I was pushing a lawnmower in the driveway at the time and walked over there to help her. Said, "Grandma, look what you did," and tried to help her up. And that was when she proceeded to throw the phone that she had in her hand at me, and I decided to walk away.
Good, you're responsible for her broken wrist. I don't care whose version of the events is accurate.
How is
I don't
that?
care whether you held her and twisted her around or she fell when she was running after one of the trucks that you brought with you. You're responsible. You created the situation by not making a prior arrangement with her and invading her home with 9 people who were uninvited to her home to
They
clean.
knew I was coming.
Who's they?
They all did. They packed up my things. They were waiting for me to come get my things.
On that day?
I didn't even know my things were packed up. They assumed.
Listen, don't be a swift talker. You understand exactly what I'm saying to you. What I'm saying to you is they had packed up your things, put them away in an orderly way. You said in one corner of a room. That's what you told me.
It was all shoved into one room.
That's fine, shoved into one room. It was all packed up. She was expecting a telephone call from you to say, "Grandma, can I come over on the 2nd of August to pick up my things? Is that okay with you?" Sure. You're going to bring people? Yes, I'm going to bring 9 people with me to your house. 9 people to help me move. Because I know you're going to be alone that day, because I know he's working. So I'm going to come with 9 people, some of whom you know, some of whom you don't know. We're going to come into your house. I just want you to be alert to that so that you don't get frightened, you don't get scared. You did none of that. You just went when it suited you. It didn't suit you to go on August 1st. It didn't suit you to go on July 29th. It didn't suit you to go on July 28th. It suited you to go on August 2nd. Maybe it didn't suit her for you to go. Maybe she was having a bar mitzvah for somebody in her house on August 2nd. And it wouldn't be convenient for you to be removing stuff with 9 trucks. So you are responsible. Because if she got agitated because you hadn't made arrangements for an orderly transition.
But that was still considered my home.
It is not. No way. No way is it your home. You abandoned your home. You abandoned her home.
I did not abandon the home.
Oh, yes, you did. You abandoned the home. You were gone for 32 days, according to you, and decided that would be a good day for you to come and retrieve your property. And you and your husband moved into her home. He didn't live there when you got married. You said he lived in an apartment. And the 2 of you moved in, maybe because his apartment was unsuitable for you and your child. But you moved into Grandma's house
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
he promised to pay me back. But then he comes over to my place and he goes, Janice, just consider yourself a $5,000 hooker.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Carol Tarrant says her granddaughter-in-law, Stacy Rollins, owes for breaking her wrist and stealing her property. Stacy says Carol's injuries are her own fault.
You moved in to her house, and you knew it was her house. So you're responsible for her injuries. Got a lot of nerve. Do you have any medical coverage for these bills?
Medicare paid most of it.
Okay, so you're really suing for pain and suffering.
Well, I have a $9,000 hospital bill that they didn't cover.
Really?
Yes.
Why not?
They paid $2,000 of it.
And they didn't cover $9?
No.
And you still have the house in your name?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's a problem. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount requested, $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I knew that Judge Judy would get the truth.
I guess she just got what she wanted, like she usually does.
I don't know what I could have done. I had the phone in my hand. I guess I should have called the police as I was walking out.
There's no settling outside the courtroom with this family.
It was very frustrating.
She's playing this little innocent act in front of the judge of an elderly lady, and she's not.
I was so upset when I came to her home and she was holding her arm.
I do feel sorry, but she shouldn't have been running through the yard like that.
She was in a lot of pain.
Relation with the son, I'm sure everything's just deteriorated, unfortunately.
I just hope everything can be settled and that they could just leave us alone.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of DeMars versus Bona, step forward, please.
Food server Janice DeMars is suing her ex-boyfriend, computer technician Rockford Bona, for an unpaid loan to start a business. Rockford says the money wasn't a loan, it was an investment.
Mr. Morris, you and Mr. Bona were in a relationship several years ago, and you claim that you made a loan to him. He was starting up a new business. You want that money back. How much did you loan him?
$5,000, Your Honor.
Mr. Bona says that this was never a loan. This was an investment that you made in his business. I've read your papers very carefully. I want you to tell me when you gave him the money and tell me about the circumstances surrounding you giving him the money.
Okay. I met him in 1998, and July 23rd, 1999, I was over at Rocky's house, and we discussed a loan about him creating a software. So I went home, got the money, and put it in the bank. Jim came with me. So I do have a witness. I have the receipt because he gave me a deposit slip, and that was the circumstances of the loan. And I did want it back. It was never a gift.
He didn't say it was a gift. All right, now you tell me your end, Mr. Bona, and then I'll make a judgment. Go ahead.
All right, Your Honor. First of all, this is really not about money. It's about relationship issues.
Let me hear about the money first.
Okay.
You worry about the relationship. I'll worry about the money.
I was working for a company, and Janice here was with me when I was talking to the marketing guy about how the company was going to try to solicit investors for this software. She got excited about it and wanted to invest in it. I said, great. First of all, it's not my company, and she dealt with them directly, not I.
I did not, Your Honor.
Where did you put the money?
I did not take the money, Your Honor. She put it in the company herself.
Put it in your account.
I put it in his account. He gave me a deposit slip, and I put it in the bank in St. Cloud because he lives in Ham Lake, which is 60 miles away or so.
Well, did the money eventually find its way to your account, sir?
Not to me personally, no. Your
To whom?
I have a receipt.
Shh. To whom?
To the corporation I was working for.
Okay. Were you a shareholder in this corporation?
No.
Did they go out of business?
Correct.
When did they go out of business?
2000.
I was never notified. He never kept me informed about any business loan. It was not a business loan. It was
Sure
personal.
it was. You want to know why it was, Mr. Morris? And I'm going to tell you why. Because I read your complaint very carefully. This is what you said in your complaint. We discussed from the beginning that I would not get any money back for at least 2 or 3 years because that is how long he expected it would take to make a profit.
But
that's what you wrote. Bert, that is right, isn't it?
But after 2 years, he didn't even try to pay me
That's
back.
right.
He never called.
He doesn't. Listen to me. Listen to me.
Whatsoever.
This is what you wrote in your complaint, Mr. Morris. So this was money whether it was an investment or a loan, it is clear to me that the intention was that you would get your money back when the company made a profit.
That was
Here are your words.
Yeah,
I'm going to read them again, Mr. Morris.
That way.
I'm going to read them again. We discussed from the beginning that I would not get my money back for at least 2 years because that is how long he expected it would take to make a profit.
Yeah, if he would call me up, keep me informed, and let me know what's going on. He never did anything like that.
Hey, it's your money, so you've got to be smart enough to call him.
Yeah, I guess.
You've got to be smart enough to call the company. That's your job.
Well,
That's your job.
He took advantage of me. He
So
really
take
did.
advantage of you. What does that have to do with me? You gave him money. You invested in either him or the company. Clearly, you expected to get money back. You expected
Yes,
to
I
get
did.
your money back
Yes,
from
I
the
did.
company.
Well,
Because
it
that's
was a
what you said in your sworn complaint. When the company made a profit, you expected to get your money back. That's what you said.
Well, I expected him to let me know what was going on. There was no papers filed
Well,
about the
that's-
company whatsoever.
My
I put it
dear,
in-
there were no papers filed that this was a loan.
And
There were no papers filed that this was a loan.
then I do have...
I, Mr. Bona, agreed to repay Mr. Morris $5,000 within 2 years because the money she gave me is a loan.
I have 2 personal receipts that were signed by him, too.
For?
$2,000 and $500 apiece.
That has nothing to do with this. What are you bringing this in for? I'll see those.
Okay.
Let me see. Let me see those.
He promised to pay me back.
Shh, just a second. Here you go. Now, this wasn't the $5,000. Is that right, Mr. Morris?
No, this is...
This wasn't the $5,000.
No.
So he promised to pay you these 2 things. I received $2,500 from Mr. Morris and promised to pay her back. I owe Janice DeMars $2,500 for 1 engagement ring set, right? Now,
Yes,
you're not
but
suing for any of this, but when he gives you a loan, he gives you a note.
But then when he agreed to come on the show, he comes over to my place and he goes, Janice, I'm going on the show for a favor for you. Just consider yourself a $5,000 hooker. And that's
Mr.
what you
Morris,
told me. It's
Mr. Morris,
ridiculous.
Mr. Morris, he may not be a nice person, madam.
No, he's not.
Very good. You gave him $5,000 anticipating this company was going to make money. It didn't make money. It went out of business. You should have kept better
Where's
track
the
of your
proof?
money. Your case
Where's
is
the
dismissed.
proof?
Goodbye.
Yeah, this is case number 257 on the calendar in the matter of Michaud versus Canfield. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Miss Michaud, you have a teenage daughter who's been giving you some trouble, I gather. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And it is your claim that the defendant, who also has a teenager who's a little bit of a problem, the defendant assisted your daughter in running away from a shelter where she was placed. During the course of this running away, she committed a series of crimes for which you have been held responsible for the fines.
Yes, ma'am.
And you are suing her for interfering with your daughter's custody,
Yes, ma'am.
which caused you not only emotional distress, which you are suing for, but also the payment of these fines that you had to pay through the courts for the various crimes that your daughter committed while on the run.
Correct.
And you say that that was facilitated by the defendant's conduct in harboring her.
Correct.
The defendant says that she didn't know that all of this problem was going to develop when she went and picked your daughter up from a gas station where she had placed a call, that she in fact tried to get her to return and turn herself in when she found out that she had done some of these things, that she was really only trying to help.
Yes, ma'am.
Where's your daughter?
Over there.
This
in the black, ma'am.
Step up here. What's your first name?
Amber.
How old are you, Amber?
17.
How old were you when all this trouble started? 17 or 16?
16.
Does the defendant have a daughter who's a friend of yours?
She used to be my friend.
What's her name?
Lissy.
Spell it.
Lissy.
Now, where were you and Lissy? Were you in a facility, in a shelter?
We were in Antrim Girls Shelter together.
And how did you get to this girls' shelter?
I was put in the girls' shelter for not going home for a week, the week I stayed at Lissy's house.
So your mother put you there?
No, the judge put me there because I was on probation and I was court ordered to be home.
You were on probation for what?
A lot of stuff. I don't remember exactly.
Well, was you on probation for stuff that involved your mother or stuff that involved the rest of the community, like shoplifting and stealing?
Stuff that involved the rest of the community.
So you had been arrested for committing a series of petty crimes.
Yes.
You were placed on probation. A condition of your probation was that you were to stay at home.
Yes.
And have a curfew. And
Yes.
do all the other things that a normal 16-year-old does.
Yes.
And you violated your probation according to you. I'm just trying to put this in English so that everybody, including Bird, understands it.
Okay.
So you were told that you had to do everything right, and then you wouldn't go to jail.
Yes.
But you didn't. You went to stay at Miss Canfield's house with Lissy for a week.
Yes.
And then you were placed in this shelter by the judge because you violated the terms of your probation.
Yes.
When were you placed in the shelter with Lissy?
We met up in the shelter. I've been to the shelter like 3 times. And we met up there the first time I was there. And then it was Thanksgiving time. I stayed at her house because my probation officer told me that if I didn't stop getting in trouble, he was going to put me back in the shelter. So I went and stayed at Lissy's house. And then I decided to go home the day after Thanksgiving. And then I got sent to the shelter.
She was arrested the day after Thanksgiving, Your Honor. She called me from the Canfield residence and asked me if I was going to call the cops if she came home. I told her I wouldn't. When I hung up from her, I called the police station and told them, my daughter's on her way home. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to call you and tell you that she's here, and hang up the phone. And when she pulled in the driveway in the Canfield truck, I called the Dover Police Department and said, Amber's home, and hung up the phone. And the next thing I know, there was cops everywhere. And I did not inform her that I was going to do that. I did it because I needed to protect her. She wasn't protecting herself.
Okay. Had you, in fact, called Mrs. Canfield during this Thanksgiving week when she wasn't at the shelter?
No, ma'am, I did not. I did not know where my daughter was the week of Thanksgiving. I didn't know about Mrs. Canfield and Lizzie, other than Lizzie was Amber's friend. Amber would ask to go to Lizzie's house before Thanksgiving, and I let Amber go, not knowing the type of home that it was at the time.
Well, why didn't you know?
I guess ignorance on my part. Amber just said it was a friend of hers.
That's your job to know.
Yes, ma'am.
If you let your daughter, who's been in trouble before, go to a girl's house, and I assume you knew that she met Lissy at the shelter, right?
I wasn't sure where she had met Lizzie.
Well,
I've met
did you
Lizzie.
ask the question, where did you meet Lissy?
No, ma'am.
You're trying to place blame on this lady.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm coming back to you and I'm saying, maybe partially her fault, but let's come back to you. What information did you have or should you have had with proper exercise of your parental responsibility? What quality information could you have gotten if you asked a few questions or did a little digging? You would have found out that Lissy was a girl that she met at the shelter, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So that would have told you one thing. Trouble! Then when she said, I want to spend some time at Lissy's house, say, okay, I'm going to get in the car and go over to Miss Canfield's and we're going to have a chat because just because you met her at the shelter, maybe she's not a girl who's all bad. Maybe it would be good for you to be together. But let me speak with Mrs. Canfield and find out what kind of a lady she is, what kind of a house it is, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You did none of that?
No, ma'am.
So there's a little, on your side, a little blame.
Yes, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What gives you the right to say if I can't deal with my daughter and she's bipolar?
Amber's bipolar,
This one's
Your Honor.
probably bipolar too.
Yes, ma'am.
Possible bipolar, possible just bad.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Gail Michaud says when her daughter, 17-year-old Amber Burley, ran away from home, she was aided by Lisa Canfield. Gail says during that time, Amber committed a series of crimes.
Now, when you ran away, Amber, you committed another series of crimes, am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Like, what did you do?
When I left the shelter, I left with their van and...
The shelter's van?
Yeah.
How industrious of you.
Yes. It wasn't good on my half, and I also took allowance money.
What do you
to
mean
where I was
allowance
going.
money? Whose allowance money?
Like, they put all the girls' allowance money in one.
All the girls, not
Yeah.
just your allowance, but so you stole money from the
Yes.
shelter. So you stole both the van and money.
Yes.
And you left with Lissy?
Lissy was at home. She had called me and told me that she was coming to get me because I had court in 2 days and I was supposed to go to the youth detention center.
Sounds like a perfect place for you.
Well, Lissy called and told me she was coming to get me, and then I called her house back and I talked to her mom and I informed her mom that I was coming.
Is that what she said to you?
No, Your Honor, that's not
What
what
did she say?
said. She had called a couple days before and had talked to Lissy, and then at one point had left a message on the answering machine for Lissy. I didn't realize she was going to leave placement at that time.
But you went and picked her up according to the complaint that I read.
A couple nights later at 2 o'clock in the morning, she called me and said she had been in an accident, and I didn't know that she had stolen the van. I didn't know that's how she had left placement, Your Honor.
Yes?
When I called Lissy, I told Lissy.
I'm not talking about Lissy, I'm talking about her mother.
Her mother. I told her mother that I stole the van and the money, I got into a car accident, and I needed a ride home. And I told her that I'd give her...
Baloney!
That's not what she said.
Bull! I don't believe that you told her I stole. Okay. I stole the van and I stole money, please come and get me, because I had an accident. That I don't believe. I might believe that you said to her I had an accident, and then later on she found out that you had stolen the van. But I don't believe that you right up front said to her I stole the van. Why would she come pick you up? Is she crazy?
Because I gave her $50 for coming to get me. With the stolen money, I said, can you please come and get me? I will give you $50.
That I believe. That you said to her, please, I was in an accident, come and get me, I'll give you $50. That I believe.
After I told her that I stole the money.
That I don't believe.
I did.
I mean, I don't know anything about her. All I know about you is that you're a liar, that you're a thief, that you place your needs over the needs of everybody else. So if I have to rely on my common sense would dictate to me that when you got on the phone at 2 o'clock in the morning, you wouldn't say anything that would turn off an alarm in her head and say, I better not get involved with this, that you would say, please, I had an accident, come and get me, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. And she said, I don't think I want to do that. And you said, I'll give you $50 if you come and get me. And she may not be the nicest person. I mean, I may not entrust her with my grandchildren, but she doesn't sound to me like she's psychotic. You'd have to be psychotic to come and pick you up when you told her, I stole the van that I'm in, and I stole the money that I have, and I'm going to give you $50 of the stolen money. That doesn't jive with my common sense. In any event, you should have known better, Miss Canfield, because you knew where your daughter met her. You knew a lot more about her than just that she was a nice young girl from around the neighborhood that your daughter was palling around with. So you should have kept your nose out of other people's business.
Well,
right?
what was I didn't feel right leaving her in the middle of a snowstorm.
Tell her to call the police.
In a car accident.
Tell her to call the police, Miss Canfield.
I didn't do that. I just...
Well, I know you didn't do that, but you should have.
Yeah, well, I probably should
have.
Well,
you should have. Why didn't you say to her, why don't you call your mother?
Because she told me her mother doesn't have a license.
When did she tell you her mother doesn't have a license?
A long time ago, when she first started coming to our house.
Call another relative. Do you understand what I mean, Miss Canfield?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So you understand that I believe that either through your own stupidity or whatever, you aided her in doing the wrong thing.
And that was not my intention, Your Honor.
Well, it may not have been your intention, but that's exactly what you did. When you went to pick her up, before you went, you did call her mother and tell her, I'm going to pick up your daughter.
Not at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Why not?
Because I didn't even have her phone number.
Why didn't you say to her, give me your mother's phone number? I wanted to know where you are.
Because I figured if she wanted to call her mother, she would have.
There's your problem. She's 16.
And I know that she had some problems with her mother before. That's why she came to my house at Thanksgiving.
That's not your business. You chose to let that be your business.
Because I feel bad for kids sometimes.
You having trouble with your own daughter?
Yes, and that's why I feel bad for kids sometimes.
That doesn't make you a poster mom for Dr. Spock.
No,
that makes you somebody who's had trouble rearing their own teenage daughter and doesn't make you an expert in child rearing. So you don't have enough parental skills to take care of your own daughter. What gives you the right to take care of somebody else's daughter who's a problem?
That has bipolar has nothing to do with parental skills.
Oh, yes, just a second.
It's a disorder.
Just listen to me very carefully. I haven't heard that she's been diagnosed with being bipolar.
My daughter has.
But what gives you the right to say if I can't deal with my daughter and she's bipolar?
Amber's bipolar,
this one's
Your Honor.
Probably bipolar too.
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe. You know, a lot of bad behavior has been attributed to a lot. They always like to put a label on things. You know, label instead of just being a rebellious teenager, just being somebody who is naughty, just being somebody who is undisciplined. Possible bipolar, possible just bad. People don't like to use that term. But it is possible. You understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
You believe that Miss Canfield is responsible for all your troubles with regard to this incident. Is that right?
No, ma'am, I don't believe she's responsible for all of them.
Good. You are at least partially responsible. You should have known where
Yes,
she
ma'am.
was.
Yes,
You should have known who Miss Canfield was. You should have visited her home.
Yes, ma'am.
You should have gotten some information about her before you let your daughter go there.
Yes, ma'am.
Stop moving around. Sorry. Okay. Now, what would the extent of your fines?
Right now, I'm still pending fines for something that also took place while I was at Miss Canfield's house. Me and her daughter went to a car dealership and took a bunch of cars. We took them to Miss Canfield's house. They were there for 2 days, and then we woke up one day and decided we were going to go see my dad. So we took one of the cars to Lissy's mom's work. We showed her the car. We told her that we were going to go up to my dad's. And then Lissy decided to go with her boyfriend. I went with my dad. I ended up in a high-speed chase.
You went with your dad?
Yes.
Did your father say, where did you get the car from?
My father called the police on me.
And is that when you got into the high-speed chase?
Yes, ma'am.
Uh-huh. Is that where you were finally apprehended?
Nope, I was caught at Miss Canfield's house 3 days later.
I see. So you beat the police in the chase?
Yes, and I went to a phone and called Lisa and asked her to come get me.
I see. So in this high-speed chase, you lost them at the border of New Hampshire.
Nope, they followed me all the way to Dover. They were right behind me. We just jumped out of the car, and because it was the town that I lived in, we knew it, and the police officer didn't, so we all just
Who's
ran.
the we? All.
There was me, Randy, Nicole, and Brittany in the car.
Where'd you get them from?
Lisa's house.
No, they weren't at my house.
Where did you meet them?
Nicole is my best friend. I've known her since I was 12. And
Does she have any psychiatric problems?
No.
Huh?
No, ma'am.
So she's not bipolar?
No, she's not.
Uh-huh. And who else?
Not yet.
I met Randy at Miss Canfield's house.
So how long do you know Randy?
I knew him for like 2 weeks.
He's not bipolar, is he?
He's nuts. I don't know if he's bipolar.
You don't think you're nuts, do you?
I was. Not no more.
Oh, good. Maybe it was the 5.5 months you spent in the juvenile facility.
Yeah.
When you were in the juvenile facility, I'm really curious about this. Were you on medication?
Yes.
How often?
I took 900 milligrams of lithium once a day.
And now?
Same thing. Court ordered for me to take it.
You staying closer to home these days?
I live with my mom now.
I asked you if you're staying closer to home.
Yes.
You doing anything like going to school?
I recently enrolled back in high school, and I participate in community service at youth resources. In
Not
Denver.
voluntarily, I assume.
Yes, voluntarily.
What happened as a result of stealing the van and stealing the money?
I got a $650 fine, and I spent 5 months and 3 days in the youth detention center.
Oh, well, that's an eye-opener. Did you like it?
No, I didn't.
I assume not. And I assume that you would prefer not to go back there.
No, never.
No, never. You know what the youth detention facility is like after spending 5 months there?
Yes, I do.
Paradise compared to adult jail. Paradise. Miss Canfield, did there ever come a time when your daughter and Amber came to your house and had a couple of cars with them?
When
The answer is either yes or no.
I was at work, so I'm trying to answer you the best I can. I know the car, one of the cars was there because it drove over my septic system, and I saw where it drove over when I got home.
What kind of car was it?
I have no idea.
Was it a new car or an old
It
car?
was new.
New car?
Yes.
Didn't you ask about it?
Well, it wasn't at my house when I got home. I just know there had been a car at my home because it drove over the back lawn.
Didn't you ask about it?
Yes.
And what did your daughter tell you?
She said they had taken a car, and I told them to take it back.
Did you call the police?
No, I did not.
Look, your problem, Miss Canfield, in all of this is that I gather from the papers that you either were found guilty or pled guilty in the criminal court to somehow interfering with the plaintiff's custody of her daughter. Is that true?
In order to get the deal, I had to plead guilty to all charges.
There you go. So you pled guilty?
Yes, I did.
Ms. Canfield, as I indicated to you before, even if I didn't find that you were responsible in any way for this young lady's antics, You already acknowledged that you were responsible for this young lady's antics, or at least partially responsible by your guilty plea in the criminal court.
Well,
I think that her mother is more responsible than she's willing to acknowledge in not making sure where her daughter was.
Ma'am, I take responsibility for what?
Good. Well, then you're suing
do
the
in my
plaintiff for $5,000. That includes your emotional distress, part of which you're responsible for.
Yes, ma'am.
And the fines. So I think so far she's responsible for all the fines and you're responsible for your own emotional distress. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $650. That's it.
Yeah, this is case number 226 on the calendar in the matter of Yankowski versus Schaefer. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Ms. Yankowski, you rented a room from the defendant. It was a short-term arrangement. You weren't happy. He wasn't happy. You claim he owes you money. That money is from your security deposit, which he didn't return. And you also want a whole bunch of punitive damages. Because how much was your security deposit?
$450.
$450, but you're suing him for $2,000 because you say he aggravated you. He says that you're a troublemaker, that you used up your security deposit because you made a big mess, and he's counterclaiming for $1,600 because he says you owe him for rent, punitive damages, you caused him to lose a tenant, and you aggravated him, so he wants a whole bunch of money from you. Don't people know how to, if things don't work out, just to go their separate ways and say goodbye?
If they did, we wouldn't be in business.
When did you rent the room, Miss Yankowski?
I moved in on June 8th.
You found them through an ad in the paper, through...
Through a rental service. You pay money, they give you a listing.
How much was the security deposit?
$450.
Is that right so far?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the rent for the room?
The rent for the room was $450 plus utilities.
How long did you stay?
A month.
And you paid for the month that you were there?
Yes.
During that time, he gave you a 30-day notice to leave?
Yes.
Is that right, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Why did you keep her security deposit?
First of all, she caused some damages to my home.
Tell me.
After I gave her the 30 days notice, she was going around slamming cabinet doors that were just remodeled, and they bent. The
cabinet doors bent?
Yes.
What kind of substance did you remodel them with?
Wood.
And she bent the wood? Mr. Schaefer.
I can show you easier than I can tell you. Sure. And she also left water on the floor during her showers. Here's the cabinet door that she bent. And this is also, she was throwing away the silverware in the trash after I gave her notice.
Did you slam this door and cause this damage?
No, I didn't.
What makes you think she did that, sir?
I was in the room when she did it. I watched her do it.
Show me how she did that. Describe to me how she did that.
She was going under the sink. She took the door and slammed it.
Yeah?
That's what she did. And
No,
that's
that doesn't happen as a result of slamming a door. No. What else?
The damage to the floor and the wall in the bathroom.
Let's take a look at that. Danielle refused to wipe up water after her showers. I had to do it for her. Water damage on the floor and wall. Looks like you didn't take really good care of his property.
There was a towel on the floor in the bathroom that I used every time I took a shower. There was also another female living in the house, and every time
Another tenant?
Yes.
Was the other tenant also using this bathroom?
Yes, she was.
Didn't have a different bathroom?
No.
Okay. Now, what else are you suing for? And let's make the other stuff fast, because I have a low tolerance level for nonsense.
Well, the entire time I was there, he pretty much made my life a living hell.
That's a good reason to move.
Yeah, with sexual harassment and...
Like what?
Like, we were watching that movie, Monsters Ball with Halle Berry. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but in that movie, she's naked. And he made the comment, oh, well, that's what your body looks like naked. I was just like, okay, how would you know? And he's just like, well, I can kind of tell.
True.
We were sitting at dinner one night, and he mentioned how big my breasts were and what they looked like naked. I was on the phone with a guy one night. When I got off the phone, he's just like, oh, who is that? The only reason he'd be calling you is if he had sex with you. Use a different word. He told me that the only reason any guy would ever talk to me is if he had a sexual interest in me. One night I had a guy come over. He was coming over, he was going to pick me up, we were going to go out. The next morning he asked me, oh, so did you guys have sex? And it's just like little comments like that.
Did it bother you?
Oh, yeah.
Did he really irritate you?
Oh, yeah. And then
So you were planning on moving?
Yes.
Because he was acting like a jerk?
Yes.
He didn't touch you.
No.
Did he? He just made sexual innuendos, like a jerk.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you met jerks like that before?
Yes.
It's not the last one you're going to meet.
I know. I know.
If he said it, and I don't know, Mr. Schaefer, I don't know if he said it, but if he said it, it's a jerk. You were going to move. He gave you a 30-day notice before you gave him notice. Goodbye. You get your security deposit back. Go and be happy. Anything else you want?
Well, I mean...
Anything else you want?
No.
Perfect. Now, what do you want?
First of all, I want her to pay for the damages to the house.
She's not paying for the damages to the house, sir.
Okay.
You had more than one tenant, and there is no way that I can tell which one of the two girls who showered got water on the wall.
Okay.
Next.
She moved her brother into my home, into her bedroom, and I told her that she wasn't allowed to sublease.
So?
So she was having her brother live there, and he was going to my neighbors, telling them that I was and slandering me.
What difference does it make with regard to this lawsuit if her brother was saying something? What does that have to do with her?
Because she brought him into my home.
Did you ever hear the expression, I am not my brother's keeper? That's from a very old book. Very old. Next.
She went to my tenant and was telling her things.
Where's your tenant?
She moved out with her.
Were you there when she made remarks to your tenant about you?
Yes.
Oh, good. What did you hear her say about you?
That I was making sexual remarks to her, which I wasn't. The only sexual remark that was actually said was when she was walking down the hallway. One day I asked her what was going on, and she said she came out of her bedroom saying that she was masturbating feverishly.
Oh my God.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
I had no idea any of this was going on at all.
My mother was in tears. I was in tears.
I'm thinking my wife left me before I got married, but I don't know what's going on.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Danielle Yankowski says landlord Rick Schaefer owes for the return of her security deposit and for making inappropriate comments of a sexual nature.
Sir, I don't understand what you're suing her for.
Well, I lost a tenant because of her. She didn't know the tenant.
I have no idea whether you lost a tenant or not because if her tenant's not here. Even if it's true, the tenant wasn't happy, the tenant can leave. But you can't tell me the reason that the tenant moved because that's in somebody else's mind. I find that I cannot determine who caused the water splatter in the bathroom because you had more than one tenant using the bathroom. And her brother said things about you that were not nice. Is that right?
Yes.
So what do you want?
I didn't want her to bring anyone in the house in the first place.
So she did. So you evicted her, right?
Yes.
If you weren't unhappy with her, you wouldn't have given her a 30-day notice, right?
Right.
She was a good tenant and someone that you were satisfied with. Everything would have been cool, right?
Right.
So you did what you were supposed to do. Give her a 30-day notice and say, bye, return a security deposit, and you all go your separate ways. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $450. Your counterclaim is dismissed as nonsense. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She was threatening me.
He figured that he wouldn't be able to sleep with me and, you know, decided that he would harass me.
Be aware of little girls.
Beware of creepy old men.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Clanton versus Raduazo, step forward, please.
Kristen Clanton and her husband Mark are suing antique limo business owner Frank Raduazo for causing them to be late for their own wedding and for ruining her dress.
Mrs. Clanton, you retained the defendant's limousine company to provide transportation for you and your husband for your wedding and claimed that because of problems that developed with the cars, you were late for your own wedding. Your dress got ruined because the cars broke down. All in all, it was a terrible day, and you want some compensation. He says he provided the best service that he could for you under the circumstances, and there were problems with the cars. The problems were really your fault because you insisted upon using the antique cars rather than regular cars. Is that right?
That's true.
Okay. How did you find this company?
I actually had a bridal fair. They had given me a flyer.
Can I see the flyer, please?
Sure can.
Because a lot of this has to do with the fact that you and your husband selected antique cars to use to take you to your wedding. The defendant says that because of weather conditions that existed over the week or so prior to the wedding, he had suggested to you that it would not be a good idea to use these antique cars, but he would send other cars, and you insisted on using the antique cars. That's what he said.
Yes.
All right. When did the Clantons contact you about using your antique cars?
On May 20th in the year 2001.
And when was the wedding scheduled?
June 15th, 2002.
And when they contacted you, they told you that they wanted to use the antique cars?
That's correct.
And told them what the cost was?
Correct.
Did you tell them anything else?
The discussion at that time was basically the address, what's on the contract.
Can I see the contract, please?
When we originally...
Just a minute. So it's clear that they specified a Rolls-Royce with leather seats.
Correct.
And there was nothing in this contract that indicated that there was anything wrong with this car that prevented it from being used in inclement weather.
Other than the fact is if the question was if there were a problem with the vehicle,
yes,
would we have a backup type of vehicle under those conditions so that they wouldn't be without a car?
And what did you say?
And I told her, yes, that would be true.
What kind of backup vehicle did you have?
We have additional Rolls-Royces.
Good. Oh.
Plus limousines.
So you could have sent them, under the contract, another Rolls-Royce.
Which we did do.
Which also broke down.
Both cars did.
Both cars broke down.
Correct.
Okay. Why don't you tell me about the travails? You're at home waiting for the car to pick you up, and what happened?
I'm at home getting ready. I have the whole bridal party at the house. I get the phone call from Mr. Raduazzo. Basically, he was calling me to tell me that the car that I rented with him was not going to run.
What did he say?
He basically just told me that it was raining out and that the car wasn't going to run well. I rented this car for the day of my wedding, a year in advance. You know, this is part of a dream that I had. I wanted an old-fashioned car for the day of my wedding. And
so he called and told you the car was not going to run well.
Right.
What did you say?
I was basically in shock, to be honest with you. I thought it was a joke. I thought somebody was calling me. It was like 3 hours before I was going to get married. I thought it was going to be a joke.
So, what did you say?
Basically, we hung up. I mean, he told me that the car wasn't going to run well.
What did you say, Miss Clanton? I'm asking you, what did you say to him? You didn't just hang up. He says the car's not going to run well. You're home. You're going to say you're going to send another car. You say you better send that car anyway. What did you say to him?
I basically just told him to send a car to get me to my wedding.
So did he send a car?
Yes, he did.
What time is the car supposed to pick you up?
4:30.
What time did the car pick you up?
4:30.
What happened when the car picked you up?
The vehicle that showed up was not the vehicle that I rented. It was
another
another
Rolls-Royce?
old-fashioned car.
Was it a Rolls-Royce?
I believe so.
Old or new?
It was older. It wasn't freshly painted. It was disgusting.
What happened on the way to the church?
Well, we live probably about a mile from the highway. We barely even made it to the highway. The car stalled before we even got onto the on-ramp. My mother was in the front. I was in the back with my brother, and basically the car was stalled out. We finally got it started. I was in tears. I was very upset.
What time did you get there?
Definitely late. That car was backfiring, so finally I talked the driver into getting us a backup car. So finally, around the corner from the church, they had another car meet us, which I had to get out in the rain, get into the other vehicle, and we were only about maybe a couple blocks from the church, so we were late. The ceremony was at 5:30, and we were definitely at least 10 minutes late.
Now, from there, you were going to the reception.
Right.
Which car did you get into to go to the reception?
A second car showed up, still not the car that we booked.
But another Rolls-Royce?
Yes.
And what happened with that car?
We probably got almost halfway there. On the side of the highway, major highway, we break down again. So we had to get out of the vehicle. We were on the side of the road in the pouring rain. I was getting mud splashed up on my gown.
Why did you have to get out?
We had to get out and try to get somebody to drive us.
Well, you didn't have to do that. You have a driver there for that. What?
The car itself, when it broke down on the side of the road, the photographer was behind us in a caravan. So I got out of the car and I flagged down the caravan. So I had to get her out of the car, get her in the caravan.
Okay, but she wasn't outside trying to flag down a car.
No, but getting her out of the car is where the dress started. I don't know how to hold the dress up. I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to that.
You better figure it out.
You know, and then when we got to the church, I had no idea any of this was going on at all. And I'm thinking my wife left me before I got married, so I don't know what's going on. And the car shows up, and it's about 15 minutes later than we were supposed to start the wedding.
We're past the wedding. Get it together, Mr. Clanton. We're at the reception. You already got married. Now you're on your way from the church to the reception.
And we got stuck on the side of the road.
That's where we're up to.
Yep, and I had to
And
get
you
her out
gave
of the
me
car.
a very plausible explanation for the question that I asked. Don't volunteer anything else. Answer only questions posed.
Okay.
You won't get into any trouble that way. That's very good advice for a young married person. Don't volunteer any information. Do you understand?
Oh, absolutely.
Perfect. Mr. Raduazzo, sounds to me like you ought to get rid of your fleet of Rolls-Royces, sir, and stop advertising them. They don't run.
Your Honor, the cars are 40 years old plus.
Problem is that you understand that some people really love the idea of getting married in one of these old cars. You have other cars in your fleet. I'm sure you have much newer limousines in your fleet. Fair statement?
Yes, ma'am.
But when you advertise with the white Rolls Royce because that's sort of a dream that lots of young people have and older people have when they get married, of being married and using one of these cars, elegant cars, to get them to and from. And what I'm telling you is that it sounds to me as if at least 3 cars in your fleet don't run if it's damp.
May I explain?
Yeah.
Okay. I started to call their home on the 13th of June.
That's a lie.
I spoke.
What did I tell you about volunteering? Don't you understand? Go ahead, sir.
I spoke to her father, I believe it was, and I explained that we were in conditions that just don't normally happen. We had 50-degree temperatures with rain, thunderstorms, fog. And I wanted to switch them to a limousine at that time. That was the 13th. I called again on the 14th and again tried to get them to go into a limousine. I called the morning of the wedding and the bride hung up on me and left me no alternative but to send the car.
You don't understand what I'm saying to you, Mr. Radowazo. What I'm saying to you is you ought to get rid of this fleet of Rolls Royces that are 40 years old because, sir, they don't run well and you should stop advertising them. Now, if in the contract you said if you want Rolls Royces, you can only use them in good weather because in bad weather they don't run well, and you make them aware of that, well, then they've been forewarned.
Well, they asked me at the time that we went into the agreement, what would happen if you had a problem with this car? And I explained to them.
Yeah, that's right. If you had a problem with that car, then you send another Rolls Royce. That's what the agreement was. That's not your problem, Mr. Radowazo. Your problem is you had information that your customer didn't have. And the information that you had at the time you entered into this contract was that your fleet of Rolls Royces do not run well in certain kinds of weather. And that information you had to share with them because you knew that there was an inherent defect in the product that you were offering to them, and that inherent defect was that it doesn't go in the rain. Then they're aware of it. And then they could have made a choice. They're not aware of it. And so you are responsible. You're not responsible for everything that they think you're responsible for ruining their day. But you are responsible for giving them back their money. They didn't get what they bargained for. Let me see pictures of your wedding dress.
I only have a picture of us getting out of the minivan on the side of the highway. I didn't know that we were going to run into this problem, so somebody had a job to take my gown to the cleaner. So I do have the cleaner's bill and also a note from the cleaner stating that he couldn't get the...
Is this getting you out of the photographer's van?
Yes.
I don't see any stains on the dress. If your wedding dress is all covered with mud, then you must have a picture from your wedding showing me that the wedding dress, you say in your complaint, is covered with mud. I don't see it in this picture. Mr. Radowazo, stop advertising these cars or at least modify your contract to provide that these cars do not run in the rain, they do not run in the damp, they do not run in the wet. And if somebody wishes to rent them on that basis with the understanding that unless the weather is crystal clear and perfect, they're not going to run, they should have a substitute car, I think you're going to be faced with these lawsuits all the time. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $395.
That's case number 211 on the calendar in the matter of Palmer, Chorney versus Palmer. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
How are you related to each other?
Friends.
How are you involved in this case?
That's my best friend. She borrowed him the money. She borrowed me the money to borrow him.
She loaned you the money?
Sorry, she loaned me the money.
That he allegedly borrowed from you?
Yes.
Why don't you have a seat? This is your father?
Yes, ma'am.
It's your claim that the father borrowed $200 from you and also has some property of yours that's not worth very much, but $80, a VCR and a quilt set. He says he never borrowed any money from you and you took all your property, put it outside, and you came by and you took it. What did you lend your father money for?
My best friend had borrowed or loaned me $200 to loan him $200 so he could move into the apartment that he is staying in with now with his girlfriend. He did not have the full deposit to move in.
When did he ask you for this money?
June 8th.
Did he call you on the phone?
Yeah, he called me on my cell phone.
Where were you living?
With my mother.
So your father called you and asked you to borrow money so that he could put down a deposit on an apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
Why would he call his daughter?
He's called me many times to borrow money. He's borrowed money from me several times.
How old are you?
19.
What kind of work do you do?
I clean houses for a living. I work for Mary Maids.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Palmer?
I'm a truck driver, been a truck driver for 10 years.
You work steadily 5 days a week?
Yes, ma'am.
Who do you work for?
Right now I'm working for D&D. What is it?
Don't ask her. She doesn't drive the truck.
Oh, I can't remember what it's D&D services, I guess is what
It's
they call
D&D
it.
Realty. He maintenances for his landlord. He is not driving a truck.
On what date did you lend him this money?
June 9th.
Who were you working for on June 9th?
A1 Container. It's a trash business.
And how long had you been working for them?
Right around 7, 8 months.
So there was really no need for you to borrow money from your daughter?
No, ma'am. When all this was going on, I was in the process of a divorce. I was living in my truck for 2.5 months. The gentleman that I worked for at A1 Container was holding my paychecks so I didn't blow my money, so I would have the money to move in. This 200.
Why was he holding?
I asked him to hold a certain amount of money every week. I'd cash my check. I'd give him cash. We'd hold this for me so I don't blow my money, because he knew the predicament I was in. I'd been living in my truck for 2.5 months. This whole case started over, this was supposed to be a trip that Amanda, Sylvia's 7-year-old sister, was supposed to take to Kansas City. I couldn't get the time off of work because I had just started working.
Oh, what's your first name?
Amanda.
Amanda. Who's Sylvia?
This is Sylvia.
And who's 7-year-old?
That's her sister, and she's
She
6,
has
and that
nothing
is
to say.
incorrect. He had lost his job.
Go ahead.
We had planned a trip to go to Kansas City. It was supposed to be a week later than what they went. We told her not to go because her car would not make the trip. I had a SEI.
When was it?
The trip was supposed to take place, I take her, Your Honor, every year.
When was the trip?
June 22nd for her birthday. For the last 10 years, I've taken my daughter to Worlds of Fun.
She went. So what's the $200 for?
She went to Kansas City against my wishes. I had a mechanic look at her vehicle. The mechanic stated, your car is not worthy. I got a phone call at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon on my pager from my girlfriend, Linda. Your daughter is in Kansas City. Her car broke down. She was 80 miles outside of Columbia, Missouri. She got on the interstate, left Worlds of Fun on 480.
Don't give me the road, sir. It doesn't make any difference.
She went the wrong direction.
So what was the $200 for?
She's stating that I borrowed $280 from her. I borrowed no money. I was supposed to pay for their trip to Kansas City. They went without me, and the mechanic told her not to go. The car broke down. They called me. I took time off of work. I borrowed money. I borrowed a car, drove to Kansas City, picked up my daughter, Sylvia, and a 7-year-old girl out in the middle of nowhere. The highway patrol had to find her for me.
How long did it take you to get there?
They called me at 2:30 in the afternoon. I showed up in Kansas City at 9:30 at night.
And when was this?
The day that they took the trip.
Your Honor, it was the 12th that
12th
we
of
were
what?
stuck out there, of June.
So you're telling me that your father borrowed money from $200 from you on June 9th.
Mhm.
And 3 days later, he came out to Kansas City to get you.
Yes.
He did
He
come
came out. He came out to help me with my starter because my starter went out in my car. I had took it to my personal mechanic, and
No, I'm talking about you drove 11 hours to come and get you.
I called him at 11 a.m.
Yeah.
and he was not home. So his girlfriend called him and then called me back and let me know that he was working and he'd be out as soon as he could get off of work and
Your
he could
Honor.
find a car. I did not call him at his place of business. I do not know that.
Did your father
number.
come to get you on
Yes,
June 12th?
He came out on June 12th.
Okay, and he came out. What did he do when he came out on June 12th? Just a minute. You sit down. Look at me. Look at me. You too.
When he arrived, he threw the cooler that belonged to her towards her little sister, and his girlfriend hollered at him and pushed him away. He then put a spare tire on my car because my spare had exploded. The company out in Kansas City put a new starter in my car, so I needed a tire. It wasn't the starter that I needed help with.
Okay, so?
And the $200 had nothing to do with the trip. He was fired from A1. He did not work there no more. The only reason why I borrowed him the money is because I felt bad for him because he got arrested for sleeping in his truck.
Okay. Now, what about these things that you say he has that belong to you, a VCR and a quilt?
When he first moved into his apartment, they were sleeping on the floor. They had blankets, and that was it, because his girlfriend's going through a divorce and just left her daughter and her husband to be with him. I had went to stay with him for a little while because I wasn't getting along with my mother. And I had a VCR, and I had my TV there. I got my TV and my dressers and my clothes back. And the only reason I got that back is because I was escorted by officers because he...
Well, what caused the trouble between you and your father?
His girlfriend.
Wow.
Excuse me, Your Honor?
Shh. Explain that to me. It sounds to me as
that
if...
being more important than his daughter.
It sounds to me as if for at least, he says 10 years, he would take you to this water park.
No.
Say 5 years.
Worlds of
But
fun.
you had...
Excuse
You had a reasonable relationship with him. Certainly you got into trouble. You called him to come and help you.
It was occasionally reasonable. It depended.
Good. Okay. And then if you had difficulty with your mother,
Yeah.
you said you went to your father. So it wasn't as if you were estranged, you know, that you weren't
While I
speaking.
was staying with him, my belongings were there, but I was staying at Sylvia's house most of the time because we were fighting.
All right. But sometimes you were there, and it doesn't sound
Yeah.
like a terrible arrangement. So what kind of problems do you have with his girlfriend?
That she was on probation, and he is...
Probation for what?
I believe DWI.
Okay.
And the problems all occurred, and the reason why I started staying with Sylvia was because they were arguing because he was having pot in the house while she's on probation, and that she was drinking while being on probation.
Did your father drink?
From what I understand, yeah, he has been. While I was staying with him, I had seen him drink several times.
Your Honor, I quit drinking April 13th, 1988 when I hit a telephone pole at 80 miles an hour because of alcohol.
So
And I
what do you
haven't
found-
drank since.
So,
My
Mr.
Uncle John
Palmer,
passed.
what do you involve? Shh, listen to me. Listen to me. If that's true, that means that there was a point in your life where you had a drinking problem.
Yes, ma'am.
And it sounds to me like you had a serious drinking problem.
Yes, ma'am.
Then what do you get yourself involved with somebody who has a drinking problem for?
Because my girlfriend has been in AA for 2.5 years, clean and sober. I have been clean and sober for almost 11 months.
That's
And
incorrect.
Just a shh.
I
Thought
would
it was
like to-
1988.
I would like
I thought it was
I would like to
1988.
explain, Your Honor, I would like to explain why this has all come about. The problems between me and my daughter are right there with Sylvia Chorney. My daughter lied to you when you asked her, what is your relationship? They're not friends. They are girlfriends.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You had a substance abuse problem.
I had
for a
no
period.
substance abuse.
Of course you did. You were in
Prove
AA.
it. Test me right now and
You
prove
told
to
me you
that
were in
I
AA.
had-
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Amanda Palmer says she loaned her father, Mark Palmer, $200. Mark says Amanda is a bitter girl and she's seeking revenge.
Now,
that is my friend.
There was a point when this all came out, before I found out that my daughter and Sylvia Chorney were seeing each other. Sylvia Chorney went to the Omaha Police Department and filed charges against me for rape, for fear of how I was going to react to this.
My mother had, that's when he was still with my mother, and my mother was around, and I went to my mother when I found out that he had raped her. And I had took my mother to Village Inn. I sat down and I had talked to her. My mother knew before he knew that I was gay. That has nothing to do with
And,
it.
Your Honor, they
the
said that
verbal
it
and
was-
the physical
Listen
and the
to me,
emotional
listen to me,
abuse
listen to me.
started when I was very young.
Okay. More information that I needed for this. Shh, please. More information that I needed. I see you're upset. Okay? And it's more than $200. It's, you know, the issue involves more than $200,
Yeah.
I gather.
Well, I have
To you.
papers and everything stating for the money that came out and all of that because it was from her.
I want to tell you something. I believe that you gave him $200. Thank you. Okay? I believe that you gave him $200. What I'm telling you is I don't think that this case is about $200 because I don't think that you would be here for $200.
It wasn't for me. It was for the respect out of my friend, or whatever he wants to consider her, out of my best friend because she borrowed it. And I don't want it to come in between us because of that.
Okay. So you're really talking about Sylvia saying to you, you got to get the money back from him.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about that for a minute. Good, bad, I don't know. I don't have enough time to figure it out today, nor is it really any of my business. Whether he's a good father, a bad father, whether he has been verbally abusive, emotionally abusive, whether he's been supportive or non-supportive, I don't know. Bottom line is, that's your father.
Mm-hmm.
Bottom
And
line
when,
is, Your Honor, I support her
hey,
no matter
quiet
what.
down, because I have a feeling, sir, growing up with you was not a picnic. If you had an alcohol problem for a period, listen to me carefully. Deny all you like. But if growing up with you at times involved living with your substance abuse problem, that's a problem. That's not
Substance abuse problem. I had no substance abuse problem, Your Honor. I left my wife because my wife had left me on several occasions laying in a bed, burning.
Mr. Palmer, you are not paying attention to me, sir. What I'm saying to you is you had a substance abuse problem.
I had no substance abuse.
Of course you did. You were in AA.
Test me right now and
You
prove
told
to
me you
that
were
I
in
had.
AA.
I was drinking on April 13th, 1988. I went after work. I went and had a few beers with a buddy.
Alcohol, you told me. You've been involved in AA. You've been clean and sober for 11 months. That's what you told me. Alcohol is a substance. If you abuse a substance, that's a substance abuse. That's not necessarily drugs. Alcohol is a substance.
I went to AA, Your Honor, for marijuana use, not alcohol use.
Mr. Palmer, whatever it is, sir, if you're in a state of denial, I'm not going to reach you. You have a child who's 19 years old. If during the course of her minority, you as a parent that sometimes were under the influence of either marijuana, which is a drug, or alcohol, which is also a substance, and that caused you not to be able to properly parent a child, and I'm telling you that it absolutely all the time does not enable you to properly parent a child when your brain is cloudy, then she grew up with certain amount of baggage that she didn't buy into when she was born. You have to understand that. That's a true thing.
I understand.
You may not like it, but it's a true thing. So she's got baggage.
I'm not
she is
the
your
one
child.
I am not the one being investigated for doctor shopping, for pills, because of her mother.
You're not getting it.
No, he can't.
If I'm not getting it, then award her the case because I am so used.
Then I want you to tell him, if he doesn't understand, I want you to just stand by him, and every time he opens his mouth now, because now I'm tried to get through to him, it was like getting through to this table. You don't get it.
Just award to her.
You don't get it.
I do get it.
You
I've
don't
been
get it.
shafted for
She's your
23
child.
years. I got shafted for 23 years. What's another day in court?
Just a second. She wasn't around for 23 years, sir. She's only been around 19.
And it's been this way my whole life.
Shh. She's only been around for 19.
Your Honor, I have traveled her all
No,
over the
I'm not
United States.
listening to you. You are not getting it. You are not getting it. She's the child. You're the parent.
And I was a damn good parent.
No.
Oh, I'm sure you were a wonderful parent. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $280. You don't get it. But he's your father. He's always going to be your father. If Sylvia was a good friend to you, she would not have put you in a situation that you're in today by saying to you, you should get the money back from him. Because this is too painful. This is too painful. You should not be involved with it. You have to understand, your best friend is supposed to make things easy for you, not more difficult. Good.
That has been
Okay,
her
judgment
biggest
for the
thing.
plaintiff as pursuant to the requested judgment, which is $280, because I believe what you tell me. That's all.
Parties are
Thank
excused.
you.
You may step out. So step out the back.
It's been nothing but verbal threats, him harassing her at her job.
She lied to the judge.
I don't care if I was 16 and had $5 and he asked for it, I'd give it to him.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Edmond versus Athanasatos. Step forward, please.
Postal worker Tracy Edmond is suing tattoo artist Alex Athanasatos for the cost of a tattoo removal. Tracy says Alex botched a tattoo of her late mother.
Bird, don't get too comfortable.
This is going to be a quick one.
Yes. Miss Edmond, according to your complaint, the defendant is a tattoo artist.
Yes.
And you went to the defendant because you recently lost your mother?
Yes.
And you wanted a picture of your mother memorialized on your body?
Yes.
Ah. A picture on your dresser wouldn't have done.
It would have.
You're unhappy with the picture that he did, and you want him to pay thousands of dollars to have the picture removed. Is that right?
Yes.
First of all, do you want to show me the tattoo? Where is it, on your arm?
Yes.
Could you step up here? Okay. And I see you've had tattoos before.
Yes.
So that's not... How many tattoos do you have altogether?
7.
7. Had you ever done work for her before?
No.
Did he come recommended to you?
Yes.
But I'm going to get to your complaint. You said everything was going fine until you saw him light up a joint and start to smoke a joint.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Did you get up and leave?
No, because it was almost half done.
Almost half done is not done. Now, according to what I read in your complaint, you said everything was going fine, right?
Yes.
And he was doing a good job, right?
Yes.
Until he started to smoke a joint.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at that point, you get up and leave, and you said, listen, when you're finished, I'll come back tomorrow. Why didn't you do that?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know, how should I know? If somebody is doing brain surgery, and they seem to be doing okay,
How do you know?
and right in the middle of the brain surgery, they say, do me a favor, would you give me a double vodka?
I'll take one.
Quiet. Sorry. That's the time you say, listen, we'll finish this surgery another time. Or get somebody else to close me up. Or something. You don't sit there and hope for the best and then say, well, he was smoking a joint and clearly he wasn't doing the right thing, so I sat there like a jerk and let him finish, because then he wasn't doing a good job anymore, and then complain that it doesn't look like your mother. Anything else you want to tell me?
No, listening to you.
Perfect. Anything else you want to tell me?
I have nothing to say.
Good! See what I mean? Case dismissed.
Isaac. This is case number 240 on the calendar in the matter of Noraki versus Scanlon. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Ms. Naraki, you are a daycare provider.
Yes.
And you were hired by the defendant to take care of one child, a boy.
Correct.
And it is your claim that when she removed her child from your daycare facility, under the circumstances described here, which you're going to explain to me in a minute, she filed a complaint against you with the state, causing you to lose business, and that the complaint that she filed was really slanderous and not true.
Right.
Is that right?
Yes.
Ms. Scanlon says she had every reason to file the complaint that she did, that she has witnessed things in your daycare center that were inappropriate, and that the way you acted with regard to her child was also inappropriate, right? When did you enroll your child in her facility?
I enrolled my son Robert the beginning of June of 2002.
For how many days a week?
3 days.
And how old is Robert?
He was at the time 20 months.
How did you find the plaintiff?
I called up a Suffolk County Child Care Council, and they referred me a bunch of names on a list, which I checked out a few names. Loretta's name was on the list, and I went to her house and interviewed her, and that's how I found her.
She takes care of children in her house?
Yes.
And you're a working mom?
Yes.
When did the problem occur?
Actually, I never had a problem with Lori, the way she ran her daycare. My son went right into her arms when I dropped him off, so I knew that he liked her. The only problem I had was when it came to money, and the problem started the week of her birthday. Her birthday was the day before the 4th of July, where she did inform me that she was taking that day off, that I would have to find somebody to watch my son. And when I dropped him off that day, I paid her for 2 out of the 3 days of the week.
You mean the day that Robert would actually be there?
I paid her for it.
And July 4th,
Yes.
which was a holiday.
Right.
Is that right?
Yes.
Why?
It's in my contracts.
Let me see. I want to see the signed one that she signed.
She never gave it to me.
I never
then you don't
signed
have it.
I no.
Then you don't have it. So you don't
No.
have a contract with her.
No. She
Shh, just a second. Second of all, paragraph 7 of this is inconsistent. And I'm going to tell you why it's inconsistent, because it says the provider, that's you, will be paid for the following holidays. And you have Memorial Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving Day, and the day after, Christmas Day and the day after, New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. But you also have July 3rd and 4th. In what almanac is July 3rd a holiday?
It's not. It's the holidays I take.
Well, you know, you'd expect to be paid for those days.
Yes. When we sit down, when she came and I interviewed her, we go over this step by step.
I don't have a contract that she signed.
She
And I
made
want to tell
them
you,
to me.
And I
She-
want to tell you
she printed
something.
them up on her
That's the
computer.
dumbest thing that I ever heard, that your
Okay.
birthday is a paid holiday for a part-time worker. I mean, I have a son who thinks that his birthday is a national holiday. But, you know, I mean, we sort of joke about it. All right, so what happened when you left? You were very nice. You paid her $100 for 2 days, and your son was only going to be there 1 day that week, so that was very nice of you. She called and she said, you didn't give me enough money.
Yeah, she called me screaming. She was very upset. She told me that none of her other parents give her problems like I do. Who am I to pay her when I feel like paying her? And she told me to come and pick my son up now.
So what did you do?
I called my mother because I couldn't leave my job at the time, and my mom immediately went over to pick up Robert.
That's not true at all.
Well, tell me what happened. You called her.
And I told her, before this, we've already had a discussion about money.
Why?
I get
What kind of
paid
a discussion?
A week before this, my husband was in the house, and she told me, Lori, do I have to pay you for your vacation in August? I said, yes, I get paid for my vacation in August. I've been doing this for 13 years. I've never had a parent argue with me over my vacation times. Everybody gets a vacation. I'm entitled to a vacation.
Not you.
Well,
You're not. You don't run a daycare service. You don't run a business. You take care of children in your home.
Yes, I do.
There's a difference. If you had a nursery school and you wanted to go away on vacation and you had other people working for you who were going to cover these children for the 2 or 3 days a week that they were there, that's fine. That's not what you do. When you're not taking care of them in your house and they're still working, they have to hire somebody else to take care of their children, so they're paying twice.
This is how
This is how
What
What kind of this is?
This is how I've run it. For 13 years, I've never had a problem.
Well,
I've
now
never
you had a
problem.
problem.
Argue with me. I'm not suing her for the contract.
Now you have a problem.
Yes, I do. A big problem.
Because instead of waiting for her to come home to pick up her child that day, you were angry enough to call her at work.
Yes.
Now, if I were a parent and I had a 20-month-old baby that you were watching that day, and you couldn't control yourself sufficiently to wait until she came home to pick up her child and say, look, let's sit down and talk about this, but was so angry that you called her at work, even if you didn't tell her to come and pick up her baby, I would have come and pick up my baby. I would have been there in a second. I would have said, I'm not leaving my baby with her. She's mad at me. I don't know if she's going to take this out on my baby or not. She can't control herself sufficiently to wait till I get home. I'm not taking a chance. Now, we don't have a contract. She gave you an extra day's pay that you weren't entitled to for July 4th, but she was a nice person. You wanted your birthday, too. As far as I'm concerned, you wouldn't get it. Is that what you called the state about?
No, what I called the state about was how she reacted when my mother came to pick up my son and asked for my $100 back because she did not supply the service to me that I paid her for. I paid her at the beginning of the week to watch him for that day and for the holiday. So when my mother went to pick him up, she was standing at the door with him in her arms and the diaper bag, and my mother said to her, my daughter would like her $100 back.
Is that what she said to you?
Absolutely not.
What
First
happened?
of all,
Well, your mother's not here, so she can tell me.
Okay, first of all, she came up to my house fuming, banged on my door like she was going to knock it down. Walked into my house, told me to give her grandson. I said, he's all packed up, he's ready to go. I was just about to say, you know what, tell Stephanie to call me when she gets home. This is getting out of hand, this is ridiculous. For $50, this is ridiculous. When she called me an effing, she said, give me my daughter's $100, cursing. I said, let me tell you something, I have kids here, my daughters are here. She goes, yeah, I have cops in my family, you better keep an eye on those girls, meaning my daughters. Now I got frantic. I said, you know what, you need to leave. She goes, I'll leave when I'm ready to leave. I said, you need to leave now. I picked up the phone to call the police. She walked out of the house. Next thing I know, the state is at my door.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She also said that I pushed her mother down the stairs with her son in her arms.
From what my mother told me, she was a raving lunatic.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Daycare provider Loretta Naraki says former client Stephanie Scanlon filed false charges with social services. Stephanie says she only told the truth.
Go ahead. She didn't say about the money. She didn't say any of that. She said I was mistreating the kids.
Let me see the report.
She said I had people watch.
Just a second. Ms. Scanlon, did you report the plaintiff for anything other than what happened with your mother?
Absolutely.
Well, then what did you say?
Well, what I said was that in the few weeks that Robert was in her care, there were more than 2 children under the age of 2. In New York State, including your own child, you're not allowed to watch more than 2 at a time. So she had her child, Jalen, who was under 2, another child, who I won't say his name, and then my son Robert made the 3rd. So she was breaking the law right there.
Is that correct?
No, it's not correct. I watched 2 children under the age of 2. My daughter turned 2 in June.
When did you see more than 2
I saw
children?
Max and Tony 3 days a week.
Who's Max?
The 2 children, the brothers.
That's good. I didn't watch a child named Max.
Okay.
At all.
Well, I assume that they investigated that.
Yes,
Go ahead. What
they
else
did.
did you tell them?
And the second thing that I spoke to them about was there were a few times when I picked up my son or when I tried to call there that Lori wasn't there. The first time being on Robert's 2nd day, I called to see how he was adjusting, and Lori's husband answered the phone. And I said, oh, well, where's Lori? And he said, oh, she just dropped Nicholas off at school. I had called another time when her sister was in town, and her niece, Sammy, answered the phone, and Sammy said, oh, she's at the diner with her sister.
Okay, and I have a letter that Sam is allowed to work when I am not in the household. She's been fingerprinted, and she is also one of my workers. So she is allowed to be in the house anytime I am not in the house.
Yeah, but I pay you. I don't pay Sam.
It says in the contracts. If
Well,
I'm
I
not
don't
there.
contract.
Well,
nothing.
you made them. You made the contracts to me.
Shh, don't talk to each other.
Everybody in my household over the age of 18 has been fingerprinted and is allowed to be in the household with the children when I am not there.
Okay. Go ahead. What else?
Well, that was it. Those were the 2 things that I called.
She also said that I pushed her mother down the stairs with her son in her arms.
Well,
now,
that
I
doesn't
couldn't
say
get
that
this
here.
report. I know, I couldn't get this report because I had to write to Albany for it. They called Stephanie and asked her if she would release it, and she said no.
All I can tell you is I assume that all of these things were marked unfounded.
Unfounded.
Okay.
But when you call the child care council and ask for a referral, they will give you my name, and in this letter I'll show you that they have to, by state law, tell you that a file was claimed filed against me. I normally, in the month of June and in the month of August and September, interview 7 to 10 people for new slots opening up. I did not get 1 phone call over the summer. So my daycare is going to go down the drain because the way life is now, I would not leave my daughters with somebody, even if it was unfounded, I would not leave my daughters with somebody where a claim was filed against them. So I had to enroll myself, now taking away more time from my children, in school to take up another occupation, because now I have to go to work.
Now, if I'm leaving the children with you, my baby with you, unless I am on actual notice that they will be taken care of by someone else.
Which I tell them every morning when they drop the child off.
Just a second. No, you don't.
I do.
No, you don't.
Well, I have
Because
letters from all my other parents.
This is clearly somebody who would have said, well, I'd like to meet your husband. I'd like to meet Samantha.
She did.
I'd like to meet your husband. I'd like to meet Samantha if they're going to be taking care of my child. Did she tell you that other people would be taking care of your child?
Not taken care of. She did say that she had a helper that came in to help her, and every once in a while she would step out.
I did. And I introduced
every
her to my
once in a
husband
while.
and Samantha.
But I have a list of 4 or 5 times in the 3-week period where she wasn't there, and that just wasn't acceptable to me.
Then you shouldn't have dropped him off that Tuesday morning. But you did because you continually told me how happy he was in my house.
And he was.
All right.
Now, that's what you said. Then my question to you is, if that's true, and that's what you said to me initially, Miss Scanlon, that your son went to her and but for this money problem that you seem to have with her, and I'm not saying that's without justification, I think that you were justified, but for that problem, you said your son was happy. So why did you register these complaints against her when your real problem was with money?
Well, when my mother went to go pick up my son, from what my mother told me, she was a raving lunatic. She did not push my mother down the stairs, and I never said that. She pushed my mother, and my mother lost her balance. But you don't shove a woman, an elderly woman, who has a child in her hands.
Well, I don't know if that happened. Is that what your mother told you?
That's what my mother told me.
Fine. So let's say you reported that.
Right. was
Why
acting
the other things?
She was acting crazy. She ran out to my mother's truck because my son had...
That had to do with your mother.
Okay.
Forget that.
All right.
The complaints that you made had to do with inadequate care.
Right.
So why did you throw that in as frosting on the cake?
Well, again, because of what my mother told me, how she acted. And
you didn't say that. You said, you talked about the fact that she wasn't there, that there was somebody by the name of Samantha who was there. Did you say anything about that there weren't proper railings or barriers from one floor to another?
No.
You talked about alternative providers, that you talked about. And you talked about the number of children she had that she was watching?
Yeah.
Okay, but none of that seemed to be a problem to you before the incident with your mother. So forget that, the incident with your mother. You talked about other things, and what I'm asking you is, why?
I didn't think she was fit to watch my child at that point.
Because?
She called for $50. She called me up.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Right.
There's no issue about that. I'm just asking you why you threw in these other things.
To be malicious.
I was upset.
But you ruined my life.
Just a second. Just a second. You were upset. That's honest. So that was frosting on the cake because you were upset. She had a perfect right to call up to complain about the incident with the money. In all probability, there would have been a complaint generated as a result of that incident anyway. But there would not have been any of this other stuff that I believe you did maliciously. And I think that that's wrong. Now, I don't know whether you can say because you did that, she lost business, because certainly I have inadequate proof of that. But certainly, there has to be a consequence, Ms. Scanlon, of attacking someone in their business or profession when you get agitated. And that's what happened. You were angry. I'm not faulting you at all with calling and reporting. Now, I don't know.
I also have a check here she wrote me. I lost it. I found it while going through everything, and I was afraid to cash it because I was afraid she'd have me arrested or something. She was off the walls running crazy as it was. I didn't want to add insult to injury.
Well, she insisted on cash.
Yes, that's what it says in
And
her,
the first week of his care, I gave him a check, and she said, no, I want cash.
Yes.
So I said, okay, fine. You know what? I'll bring you cash. And I put a stop payment on the check. Yeah, that week was paid for.
I'm sure it was paid for.
No.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was paid for. Because if it wasn't paid for, and this was in June, she would have been on your back. That's what happened.
No, it's not what happened.
Oh, you want to tell me your version of what happened?
Yes, I lost the check. I lost it. Was I going to, tell her, write me another check? I lost the check. It was only the middle of June. She did all this July 3rd, July 2nd.
Did she pay you by cash every other time?
Every other time.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I figured I'd find the check and cash it. All right. I don't take care of other people's children. I love what I do. I do it for a reason, to support my kids. If I get no other business coming in, the children I have now will be going to kindergarten in September. So I've just lost an entire business. I worked 13 years to get the reputation. I have letters from every single parent I worked for.
Then those parents should be able to
refer me.
Refer people to you.
Absolutely.
And Ms. Scanlon, I believe that Ms. Scanlon has to understand that she has to be much more careful. She has an absolute right to, if she has pure motives, and her motives were pure, to call up and say, she reacted very, very badly when we had a dispute over money. She reacted unprofessionally. I want to report her unprofessional behavior. But I believe that with regard to the other complaints that she made about you, they were made with a malicious intent. And for that, I am awarding you $1,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. This is case number 86 on the calendar in the matter of Jenkins versus Fowler.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mrs. Jenkins, the defendant is your daughter.
I gave birth to her, yes.
And the co-defendant, your son-in-law.
Yes.
According to your complaint, you believe that your daughter and son-in-law owe you for their share of a trip that you took to Hawaii.
Yes.
You asked your daughter to join you. so that she could help you with your wheelchair and getting around, and you agreed to pay for her.
Yes, I did that.
She wanted her husband to go along. You said you couldn't pay for him.
Yes.
Or would not pay for him, and she agreed to pay for him.
Right.
So you say that they owe you some $3,000 for the trip.
Well, there was more than that. I gave her the number to my credit card that she could use over the telephone, and so she charged up a lot of things before we ever got started. Told her she could charge a car payment, utility bill, Cellular One, Geico.
So a lot of other of their personal charges that they placed on your credit card.
Yes.
Can I see the list of credit card charges that you think that they owe you, Ms. Jenkins?
Do you also want to see where on a different credit card I paid for everybody?
Yes. Okay, so you paid for everybody's ticket and the hotel, but that you had agreed to pay for except for his ticket.
Right, and hotel. That's $800 and some for the whole thing. It was a package deal.
$25.33.
Yes.
I'm really more concerned about this credit card, $3,670.
I'm concerned about that too.
Well, tell me what your interpretation was of the agreement that you had with your mother when you went, and the bills that you paid from her credit card.
When this came about, Miss Jenkins had said that she wanted to take a trip to Hawaii, and she was quite ill. She had emphysema, and that this might be the last chance she'd get to see Hawaii. She'd been there several times, and she knew that I had never been to Hawaii, and she also, we'd only been married a short time, and we didn't have a honeymoon, and she needed a caregiver. And my husband was a medic while he was in the service, and she felt that between the two of us, we could help her get around. But she also wanted to give it to us as a honeymoon present.
Is that what she said?
That's what she said. A honeymoon present that she was paying for 2/3, we would pay 1/3.
Or why would we go?
Just a minute. Go ahead.
Okay, and so I told her, I kept saying, no, we can't afford this. We just put a new roof on our house. We bought this older home that we were restoring. I had used both of our vacation time to go to my son's wedding in March in Kansas City. I had flown back to Maryland for my birth of my... I know, but there was no way we could afford to do this.
Okay.
I said, you know, if we're both missing a week of work, we can't pay our monthly payments. And she said, well, she had several credit cards with a zero balance, that she would be able to handle it.
As a loan or as a gift?
As a loan.
So some of your monthly expenses, in addition to 1/3 of the cost of the trip.
Right.
Okay.
Because I haven't been a part of Miss Jenkins' life, but the last 24 years, I have gotten to know my siblings, and they all told me that I needed to get everything in writing. They all warned me, or get witnesses. And in those phone calls, Miss Jenkins shared with us that...
Do you call your mother Miss Jenkins?
My mom. It is very hard. Told us that it didn't matter how long it took, or how long it took, or how much we could afford per month. You know, that she really wanted to go on this trip, and she wanted to be able to experience the time. I've never been alone with my mom on a trip ever.
Why is that?
So she's never been a mother to her, Your Honor.
Well, I was 3 months old when I was sold to a family. It was considered like a black market by my biological father and mother. And
so you were raised by another family?
I was raised by another group of people that abused me for the first 18 years of my life.
And then you found your mother?
I was 29 when I made the first call on April 7th, 1978.
You have siblings?
I have 7 siblings.
All older?
2 older, and the rest are younger, and 1 sibling by my father.
So this was really the first time you were alone with your mother?
Alone without anybody except for my husband.
So you have every intention, or your intention is or was, to pay back the expenses that you put on this card, your phone bill and your insurance and the other things. Okay. Did you pay back any of the money to your mother?
Yes, I did.
How much did you pay back?
The total is $1,026.
Now, as far as you're concerned, does that bring you up to date? with your mother, both for the expenses that you charged on a card
I thought
and the third of the trip? Doesn't look
We
that
don't know
way.
how much a third of the trip was.
We have never received any documentation telling us the cost of the hotel, the cost of the airplane ride, anything.
All I know is the trip to Hawaii was $25.33. One third
Right.
of that is $8.44.
Okay.
Okay, and then the other charges that you have on this credit card, which is what your mother gave me. Let me see if I can come up with a number.
I have letters here from both Mary Lynn and her husband that said how much they were going to pay and when they were going to pay. When she first came to Oregon, I co-signed for her to get a new car.
I'm not going, listen to me. Don't go back into ancient history. This is a very simple case, and let's not make it any more complicated, madam.
The last payments I got was for $13. That's what they're going to pay me the rest. $13 for 18 years will repay me for this loan.
How old are you, Miss Jenkins?
72.
You don't have a lot of money, but you have some, enough to keep you comfortable?
Yes.
Good. Is it important for you to have a relationship with your daughter?
Not now.
She never did before.
Just a minute. That's not her fault.
I was in the hospital when she was taken from me, and her father placed her with these people. I was in the hospital. He had deserted us. I was there for malnutrition and a kidney infection. And he brought these people to the hospital and said they wanted to adopt her. I throwed such a fit, they threw them all out. When I got out of the hospital, he had placed her with these people.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She told him that the used appliance man was my father. It's not a matter of money. I was sold for pots and pans and the cost of her hospital bill.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mary Jenkins says her daughter, Mary Lynn Fowler, and her husband, William Fowler, owe for a trip to Hawaii and for unpaid credit card charges.
Miss Jenkins, I'm not placing blame.
Oh, okay.
I'm not placing blame. All I'm saying to you, it's not her fault. She was the baby. She was a baby.
That's right.
So
it also was not my fault. I tried.
Well, it's not her fault, so it has to be parents' fault because the parents are the parents. It's not her fault. All I'm saying to you is...
I was 18 years old when she was born.
All I'm saying to you is, it seems to me that it's a very sad state of affairs.
It is a sad story.
When a parent, especially with a circumstance where there has been a terrible estrangement over the years, for a couple of $1,000s, sues a child. That's something that I hate to see. If a child disappoints you by not repaying a loan, what parents usually do is say, I'm not going to give him any more money. It's a sorry state of affairs when you choose, under these circumstances, over a trip, to bring a lawsuit against your children. Now I'm going to turn to your counterclaim for a minute, which I believe you know at this point is nonsense, but I'm just going to make sure you know it's nonsense. Your counterclaim is for two things. You believe that you should be paid for caregiving services on the trip to Hawaii. Mm-hmm. And then a certain emotional distress. The emotional distress, I'm sure, is some of the distress that you've just told me about. Well, you don't get paid for that. And as far as the caregiving for your mom, that was the arrangement. The arrangement was you were going to take care of her there so that she could travel. There was never any discussion of compensation, so you're not entitled to create a contract afterwards. So I'm sure that but for the fact that your mother filed this lawsuit, you would not have filed your counterclaim. Would that be a fair statement?
That's right.
Yes.
So, the emotional stress, though, I did have to go into therapy, which was very helpful so that I could write the letter that started this whole thing. On January 2nd, I wrote her a letter sharing with her I knew the truth and that she doesn't realize I have the paperwork where she signed me off when I was 3 months old. I have 2 valid certificates of birth with 2 different names. The people that adopted me to put me in a life of abuse. I was 18 years. That's why the $13 for 18 years, for the 18 years of hell I lived in until I could leave home. It's not a matter of money. I was sold for pots and pans and the cost of her hospital bill. And my biological father shared in the guilt. He told me he was sorry. He thought he wasn't my father. She told him that the used appliance man was my father. So that's why he left. He didn't have any need to stay around any longer.
Mrs. Fowler, it sounds to me as if you have a lot on your emotional plate to deal with.
And I do, and I appreciate your allowing me to share.
I believe that you have a lot on your emotional plate to deal with. So let me just make some
Thank you.
suggestions to you.
Thank you.
You have children?
I have 3.
How old are they?
My oldest is 33. He's a president of a company. My daughter lives here in Los Angeles. I adopted her from Cambodia, and she's 41. She's married to a fireman here, and my youngest son is just 30, and he's a doctor of psychology, and he just was out of the Navy during the 9/11.
So it sounds like you have 3 lovely children.
I do,
They've done
and
okay.
grandchildren.
And how many?
3 grandchildren
Soon
and
to be
2.
3.
No, I have 3. 2 boys here, 1
Wow.
girl in Nebraska, and 2 that are in within the next week.
So it sounds like everything came together.
That's good.
Despite the pain in the beginning of your life. So well, the reason I asked you the age of your kids is because you had children when they were 18. Remember when they were 17, 18 years old?
Definitely.
Tell me about them when they were 17, 18 years old.
Hot cars and fun times, and we also went through.
But irresponsible.
They had to be respectful, you know.
But
they had to be
irresponsible.
responsible, yes.
Irresponsible kids.
Yes.
Kids.
Sometimes.
So because I had 18-year-olds, a whole bunch of them, and they know nothing.
Oh, about life.
So I want you to just think about your mother being 18 years old, and you were her 3rd child?
3rd child.
3rd child. So something wasn't going right in her life.
I know that.
Because she must have had first when she was 14 or 15. Right?
And I understand
So
that.
something wasn't going right there. And nobody has a crystal ball. Very often adoptions turn out beautifully. Most often they turn out beautifully. People who want to adopt a baby really want a child very desperately, and they want to give the child a home. So if that even entered the mix of 18 years old, I got 3 children, I have no idea how I'm going to pay for tomorrow's bread, at least give my child a shot at a future. The fact that it turned out badly is a sin.
It is.
But I don't think that that sin can be visited on your mother because you know what being 18 is, being 17 and 16 and 15 and...
Nor did I ever say that I knew this dramatically because I didn't want her to hurt. I have, you know, I've known for the last 29 years that I was bought. I was not ever legally adopted. There's no legal adoption papers. And I was told from birth on that I was not loved and that I was sold to them.
Then your quasi-adopted
Right.
parents
Right.
did a terrible thing.
They did.
And
they're gone.
Then
And
they...
everybody's dead but me, so that's why use
No, they're
mother.
not. No, Miss Jenkins, you
I'm
have
serious.
to... You
All these other people are all dead.
You have to understand that your daughter, even though she's 53 years old, has certain hurts.
I understand that.
And that
I
she's
hurt
had
too when I couldn't
no,
get
no,
my
no, no.
baby.
Listen to me. It's different. You're the mother. You're supposed to be the one to take care of business, even if you are 18 years old. It was your fault you got pregnant. It was your fault you had her. And she's had to deal with certain hurts her whole life. And it looks to me as if she has done a responsible turnaround, despite her unfortunate upbringing. And she's raised a family. She has a nice husband. She has nice children. And she appears to me to be a lovely lady, despite the fact that she has pain. And I think you're making a big mistake by suing her. I want to tell you that I think you're making a big mistake by suing her.
Can I say something?
Sure can.
When she first found me, she called me. I got on a plane. I went back there. I spent a month with her. And while I was there, this man came to the door. He didn't knock. He said, "Mary Lynn, I'm coming in." This is the same man she was talking about that done all these things to her. She was 28 years old then. I talked to her ex-husband that she married at 18 years old. When I talked to her husband about this, he said he didn't know anything about it, or he would not have let a child molester in his home. I asked him, how could this be? She didn't share that with her husband? She was 18 years old?
Miss Jenkins, sometimes you don't share those things with anybody.
Now she's sharing it with the whole world.
Just a second. Maybe a little therapy and maybe a little maturity allows her to do that. But I won't allow you to dismiss that, because even if over the years the facts have become blurred, your daughter felt abandoned when she found out that she was not a biological child of these people, that she had not been formally adopted. And the fact that she married somebody when she was 18 seems to suggest that there were a lot of things going on that...
And she married a man with money so that her children could go to college. I didn't do that.
Just
I'm
a second.
sorry.
Just a second.
May I?
She has not had an irresponsible life. I think you're making a mistake by suing her, but there it looks to me, look, folks, I see that I'm not going to repair this, Miss Fowler.
Can I add,
Sure.
add something? I've been silent. Yes, I've been silent. My ex-husband did not know about my abuse because I felt like I would have been dirty to him. The reason why the child molester came in my home was because he was at my grandmother's house. My biological mother was there. He came in because he wanted to renew old friendships with her. He was
That's
in
a
and
lie,
out.
Mary
He was
Lynn.
in and out of our home for the first 3 years of my life. He would come over and drop me off. She would babysit for me while they went out and partied. And you tell them that's
are
not
you
a
telling
lie?
me that you knew your mother?
My mother babysat for me till I was 3 years old.
In these other people's homes?
In her own home. They brought me to her
my
house.
home. So at 3 months old, you were given to another couple.
Right.
But they allowed your mother to babysit for you until you were 3
years old.
Miss Fowler.
Thank you.
Do you have a nice husband?
I have a wonderful husband.
You have 3 children?
Yes.
You're going to have some new grandchildren?
Yes.
Sounds to me as if everything is okay.
It is.
And you're trying to find a
Some
comfortable
closure.
path. A comfortable path for yourself. I don't think your mom's going to get there. She's not going to get there. And whether or not you can mend it, I don't know. And I don't even know whether it should be that important to you anymore. You know, you want it to be important, but I don't know if it
Everybody
can be.
wants a mom.
Yeah, but I don't know if it can be. So it seems to me as if you have somebody lovely to rely on, and you have a lovely family, and maybe it's just time to put that period. So, Miss Jenkins, I've gone over some brief figures. You're suing your daughter and your son-in-law for $3,048.38. I find that they owe you $760 on the bills, and I'm entering a judgment in your favor for $760. And if you want to cancel it, you can. That's all.
I want to
That's
cancel
up to you.
it. I want to
If you-
cancel it.
Well, you want to cancel the debt? No, that's
No,
important.
I want to
You want to
cancel
cancel
this
the
court.
debt?
I want to cancel
Do you want to
this court.
cancel the debt?
No, I want
You want
the money I need to pay the credit card off.
$760 then is what you get, period.
I hope you win.
This is case number 228 on the calendar in the matter of Holbert versus Holbert. Parties have been, you're welcome. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks have seats.
Mr. Holbert, the defendant is your brother.
Yes.
It's your claim that for a period of 2 or 3 weeks you were incarcerated.
Yes.
And during that time, your brother stole certain property from your house and sold it.
Yes,
That's what
that's
you-
kind of about right.
And you were, in fact, living with him at the time you went to jail.
He was living with me.
How long had he been living with you?
Long as I've been about 5 years.
So he moved into your apartment?
No, it's a house. We own the house.
What do you mean, we own the
Well,
house?
I own the house, and he's my brother. He stays there with me.
What did you go to jail for?
I missed a payment on my child support.
Mr. Holbert, because I don't want anybody to think that we live in a really terrible, terrible country. Nobody goes to jail for missing one child support payment.
Okay.
You
well,
and I both know that.
Well, maybe it was more than one, but it's taken care of though now. Though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What kind of work do you do, Mr. Holbert?
Well, I work at an auto parts store and I sell auto parts.
Is your brother employed?
No, he gets a disability.
What kind of disability?
Legally blind.
I didn't ask you. Do you know what kind of
Sorry.
disability?
For his eye and his leg, because one leg is bigger than the other one, and he's legally blind in his eyes.
Does he have any other problems?
Well, alcohol, and as far as any hardcore drugs, I don't know.
But he has an alcohol problem.
But there's a serious alcohol problem, though.
How many drinks did you have today, Mr. Holbert?
None.
How many last night?
About 4 or 5.
Did you use any substances to...
No, I don't use...
Shh. Let me finish my question. Did you use any substances today or yesterday to sort of relax you before your court appearance?
No.
Only alcohol.
Yes.
And how many hours ago did you have your last drink?
Probably about 9 o'clock last night.
Are you anxious to have one now?
Not really. I'm kind of more nervous talking to you than worrying about a drink.
That was cute.
I'm just being honest.
That was cute.
I'm being honest.
Not 100%, Mr. Holbert. There were reasons that I asked that kind of question.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Now, what makes you think your brother took your property while you were in jail?
First of all, this is my girlfriend. Her name is Natasha. And I had talked to her on the phone, and she let me know that she saw my van driving down the street. And so I told her, can she go to the house and check and see what's going on? And when she got there, she said that Tony had some people load my big screen TV on the back of a truck.
Did you see that?
Yes, I did.
Could you step up, please?
That's not true.
Shh. What did you see and when? What was the date?
The day.
Do you know the date, Mr. Holbert?
February, about between the 20th and the 22nd, something like that.
Tell me what you saw.
I saw his van just rolling down 30th Street, and then I knew it wasn't him because he was incarcerated. So I went to his house to talk to Tony about it, and when I got there, it was like 2, 3 people loading his big screen TV up on a truck. And when I asked them what was going on, the only response I got was it wasn't my business.
Wasn't your business?
Right.
Have a seat.
Thank you.
Mr. Holbert, it's your claim that there was a burglary in the house.
Yes, it was, Your Honor.
Tell me when the burglary took place, sir.
The night that she's speaking of, I went out and I come back and somebody had broken the house.
How did you know that?
Because the front screen was pulled open and the window was lit up.
How did you know that?
Because I looked at it when I came in the house. It's right there.
So you saw it?
Yes.
In the dark?
Yes.
Your eyes
the lights was on in the
eyes
house.
must be good enough to be able to see that.
The lights was on in the house and you could see the screen where the window was lit up at.
Where had you been, Mr. Holbert?
I had been out with my friends for about a half an hour, riding around.
Just riding around?
Yes.
Hadn't been drinking or anything?
Yeah, a little bit.
Did you make a stop or did you drink in the
No.
car?
No, we stopped at his house for a little while. Then when he dropped me off because he had to go to work in the morning.
Uh-huh. So you saw somebody had broken into the house. When you went inside, did you take an inventory?
I just looked around and seen my TV was gone and his big TV was
Anything else missing?
gone. I saw that a DVD player was missing.
His?
And a VCR was missing.
His?
Yes.
What did the police say when you called them?
I didn't call them because I was scared to call them because I had a warrant for my arrest.
For what?
For assault.
For assault?
Yeah.
Is there still an outstanding warrant for
Nope,
your
I
arrest?
got it taken care of already.
When did you have it taken care of?
About 4 or 5 months ago.
What happened?
It was
with
only,
that?
I had to sit out a fine, that's all, and I was scared to call because I didn't want to go to jail for a $350 fine.
When did you pay the fine?
I just went and set the days out when they finally caught us driving down the street, and they pulled us over and they ran everybody's name in, and I had a warrant, so I had to go
When
to
was
jail.
this?
Back about 3 months ago.
So you just went and did your time?
Mm-hmm, 4 days.
In jail?
Uh-huh.
It must have been hard. No, they don't have alcohol in jail, do they?
No.
Okay. You have any other witnesses you wish me to hear, sir?
Yes, I got the person that Tony sold the TV to.
Really?
Tony
I didn't steal it. I didn't
he
steal
don't
that.
know. He don't know.
What's the name of that person?
Michael Tatum. He's a friend of mine, and he knew something wasn't right when Tony was selling my TV, a big screen TV for like $350.
Man, what about my? I did not sell that your
Mr.
TV.
Holbert, where is the witness?
Can he come out? He's back there.
Where'd you get him?
Sure thing.
No, I didn't sell.
Can I say something else, Your Honor?
Yeah, while he's getting him, you can.
Okay.
What about my
Well,
witness?
I got pictures of the TV. I got pictures of the van, and when I come home to find out, it's like a yard sale. All my belongings about the house. He's selling it. He's selling it. He's selling it.
You know you lying, man.
Mr. Holbert,
I can't even drive a.
I'm sorry.
I can't even drive an automobile. Period.
I want you to be quiet.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The people that bought the van changed the
Just
title
mean
over
he sold
to
the
their
van
name.
too?
Yeah, my van had TV, DVD player in it.
Just a minute, he sold your van?
Yeah, he sold my van.
And later today,
What were you doing outside fooling around with peaches?
We were throwing peaches at each other for fun.
Restraint.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Paul Holbert says during a stay in jail, his brother Tony Holbert stole his belongings and sold them for liquor.
All right, would you step up here? You're Mr. Tatum, Michael Tatum?
Yes, ma'am.
Stand up here, sir. Mr. Tatum, what do you know about a large screen television set that had belonged to the plaintiff?
Tony sold it to me.
No, I didn't
When?
either, man.
I don't want to hear you yet.
The middle or close to the end of February.
Tell me about how it came about that you bought this television.
I'm always in their neighborhood, and I seen Tony outside, and he asked me that I want to buy the TV because he needed to pay the bills. And I was like, how much you want to sell it for? At first, he wanted to sell it for a little bit more, but I talked him down.
To what?
$350.
Well, let me ask you this question. You knew the television didn't belong to Tony,
No, I knew that he stayed there, and it belonged to all of them, I guess. I don't know.
and that Tony was selling it.
To pay the bills.
Okay, and who'd you give the money to?
Tony.
You still have the television?
No, I sold it.
Why?
Because it's worth more than $350. I got way more than that for it.
How much did you get for it?
I got $700
That
for
ain't
it.
fair.
All right, let's have a seat. All right, now I'm going to hear your witness.
He was with me when After the house got broken into, I went around looking to see if anybody seen anything, and I ran into him.
What's your name, sir? Be very...
Jesse Williams.
Mr. Williams, let's be very, very careful about what we testify to, sir, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Were you out with Mr. Hobart in the evening of either February 20th, 21st, or 22nd, driving around, drinking?
No.
And you were not there when he came home, allegedly, and found that his home had been broken into?
No.
Were you there when he made inventory of his house?
No.
So what do you know about this case?
When I seen him, he was upset. He told me that somebody had broken his house.
Where did you see him?
Well, he's walking around the neighborhood. We all live in the same area.
He was walking around, was he drunk?
Well, I mean...
What do you mean you mean? What, I don't know what that
he
means.
looks,
That's either yes or no.
He's, you know, he's Tony.
What does that mean?
I mean, he drinks all the time, you know what I'm saying?
Not all the time, I don't.
So I don't know if he's drunk or not, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I seen him looking around the neighborhood, and he asked me if I seen anybody carrying a TV or microwaves and stuff. And I helped him walk around and look for it. But that was it.
Do you know what date it was?
It was around maybe the 23rd.
Really?
Mm.
So that would have been a couple of days after this alleged burglary.
Yeah, well, all I know is he was
That there was a burglary in his house. That's
Yes.
what he told you.
Yes.
And you have no idea when that was in
No.
relation to when he told you that his house was burglarized.
Correct.
Perfect. Let's have a seat.
Thank you.
What was the value of the property that was taken, sir?
Well, I got a blueprint out of the van, what the value it could have been or whatever. My van had Dayton's. Here's a picture of it. It had Dayton's on it, TV, DVD player in it. I know I'll never ever get the full value of what it was worth, but it was mine and it had no business being sold.
You're absolutely right.
And I went.
But I did not
tried to get
sell it, though.
Can I please talk? I tried to get a duplicate title before the people that bought the van changed the title over to their name.
He sold the van too?
Yeah, but they had already changed the title over to their
What do you
name.
mean he sold your van?
Yeah, he sold my van.
Man, how can I sell your van? Where I'm gonna get the keys from?
Tony, when I was gone, my van was there, my keys was there, everything was there, man. And you know it, man.
Mr. Hobart, does he still live with you?
Yeah, he stays there, but I don't stay there no more.
I thought it was a house
Because
that you owned.
No, it is my house.
Yeah.
But this is my brother, though. No matter what, he's still my brother, and I love my brother.
Mr. Hobart, stop. This was your home. You say you own this home.
Yes,
is that
I do.
right? And you allowed your brother to stay with you.
Yes.
Now you come in and tell me that your brother, while you were incarcerated for a short period of time, went behind your back, sold your van, sold your television, sold your VCR, sold
Even the
your DVD.
refrigerator, I got it all. Okay.
I want you to listen to me
Okay, I'm
carefully,
sorry,
sir.
I'm sorry.
Sold your DVD player. Is that right?
Yes.
By the way, did you report this to the police?
No, I didn't make no, because I don't want him to go to jail.
Did you report it to the police?
No, I didn't.
You said you didn't put him out of house. He still stays there.
He stays there by himself, and I live with Natasha, because he don't have nowhere to go. And I can't just put him outside, even though I'm, you know, all my valuables is gone, but he's still my brother, though.
Where do you expect him to get this money from that you're suing him for?
Actually,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either, but it sounds to me like you forgave him. Because if
No,
he's
I
living in
never
your
forgave
house,
him.
if he's living in your house, and if you didn't throw him out and say, go find yourself a room someplace, and it sounds to me like you forgave him.
Okay, but at the same time, he said, you know, well, give me like 2 months or whatever, and I'll have my own place.
So?
And the 2 months then escalated on,
Well, why don't you put him out?
and I can't do that.
You can do that.
Yes.
You should do that. But this happened last February, right? And you haven't done that,
Nope.
right?
He did.
So what do you want from me? If you said to me, I put him out immediately, because how dare he go
He
behind
did
my
put
back
me out.
after he did?
Yes, he did.
So where are you living?
He put me out for 3 months, and then I finally, my mom had to talk to him, and then he finally let me stay there.
So he put you out for 3 months?
Yeah, 3 to 4 months.
Is that right?
After when I came home, I found out what happened. We got into an argument or whatever. He said he was leaving.
You put me out for 3 months, man. And then Mama finally told me to...
Just a second. Did your
no-
mother... Listen to me, Mr. Hobart. I want you to be
I
honest with me.
recommended that he leave, but...
Shh. I want you to be honest, because you don't know what I'm thinking.
Okay.
So if you're going to try to think what I'm thinking, you're not going to be successful. Do you understand? You put him out for a period of time because of what happened. Is that right?
Yeah.
And then did your mother convince you to let him move back in?
Well, she was asking about it because he said he didn't have no place to stay.
Why
And
couldn't he
didn't
stay
want-
with your mother?
He didn't want her because they both are alcoholics, and when they get drunk, they ready to fight. I'm keeping it real. They fight. When they get drunk, they call
No,
me.
we don't fist fight. We don't physically
Man,
fight.
I got
we
witnesses
just
right
argue.
here to tell
We
y'all
just
argue
argue.
all day, all night.
Yeah.
Mr. Hobart.
We don't physically fight. I'm not gonna sit on here and say I fight my mom. We argue. We don't hit each other. We argue.
How do
There's
you
a
know-
difference.
What's your first name?
Tony?
Shh, quiet. Don't talk again. Mr. Hobart, I think you're entitled to your judgment because I absolutely believe that he stole your property. If you had told me that you let him stay in the house afterwards, I would say, listen, it's a family matter, you handled it family-wise. But you did put him out, which was the right thing to do. There has to be some consequence to what he did, even if it's just being uncomfortable for a couple of months. But I feel sorry for you because I have this sense that your mother prevailed upon you to take him back because she couldn't live with him because she's got her own troubles. Sounds to me like you might be the only normal one in the bunch. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount requested, which is a minimal amount, $2,400. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Probably his girlfriend or somebody took it. I don't know. I know I did.
It just hurt me a lot that my brother would do me like that.
I still love my brother.
I still love my brother. That's my brother. He always gonna be my brother. That's my oldest brother. There we go.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hoffman versus Birchfield. Step forward, please.
Grad student David Hoffman is suing his neighbor, demolition man Vincent Birchfield, and his wife Tara. David says Vincent's 14-year-old twins, Vincent Jr. and James, dented his car during a peach fight.
All right, Mr. Hoffman, it is your claim that the defendant's sons were fooling around and having a peach fight, which is throwing peaches at each other. And one of the peaches hit your car, causing a dent. You want the defendants to pay for that. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you neighbors?
Yes, we are.
Okay, and how old are these two boys? How old are you?
14.
It was good. They said that both together. Why don't you have a seat? You'd sit down. Yeah, get them up. Where do you expect to sit on your lap? Get over here. Give me strength. Used to be worried. What did you want to be? An engineer, doctor, a lawyer, a dentist, right?
Right.
Right? Now you know what you're asking? Whether you want to be 15. What were you doing outside fooling around with peaches?
We were throwing peaches at each other.
Why?
Because we went outside and started throwing peaches at each other in front of our house.
Why?
For fun.
And where did you get the peaches from?
Peach tree.
Where was the peach tree?
In front of the building next to us.
Who did the peach tree belong to?
The owner of the building in front of us.
So you stole peaches from somebody.
No, he said we can have peaches whenever we'd like them.
To eat.
To eat or
Or
throw.
to throw.
Yeah.
You think you're a wise guy? Let me tell you something. 25 years from now, where do you think you're going to be?
On a job.
Let's hope so. So let's not be a wise guy, okay? If somebody was nice enough to say to you, look, I have a peach tree, whenever you want a peach, go and take it, they meant for you to take it when you wanted something to eat, not for you to act like a moron and take them off the tree and throw them at each other. That be a fair statement, that that's what the person intended when they were being nice to you?
Yeah.
Try yes.
Yes.
Or certainly you won't be an English teacher in 25 years. Were you throwing peaches too?
Yes.
My brother didn't throw any.
I
was
never
the
threw
one
any
throwing
peaches.
at him.
Hmm?
I was the one throwing them at him.
And what was he doing? He was trying
Running.
to catch them?
No, he was running away from them.
Were they ripe peaches?
No.
So they were hard peaches.
Yes.
How many peaches did you throw at your brother?
I threw about 3.
And who else was throwing peaches?
My friend David and Mason.
And was it at your suggestion that you go out and take the peaches?
Yes.
All right, so that fair statement is, under the law, you are responsible for their actions since you clearly got permission to take the peaches and you gave someone else the permission to take the peaches and throw them. And you say that one of those peaches hit your car, causing a dent.
Yes,
Did you
Your Honor.
see it?
Yes, I did.
You did?
I saw it occur.
Which boy did you see throw a peach?
They're twins, and it was difficult to tell, but I know one of these two.
They look different to me.
Well, they were, as my pictures depict, I was looking at my front window. When I heard a noise hitting the roof in my backyard, a carport, made a loud noise, my dogs alerted. I then went to the front window upstairs immediately, and I saw the peach fight in progress on the four corners.
Peach fight?
Peach fight. It was pretty intense. I mean, they were ducking behind cars. They were up in the neighbor's yard, up on his hill, behind his tree. I mean, it was crossfire going everywhere. So I saw peaches hit my car, and when I came downstairs, got dressed, came out to my gate, they were gone.
Oh, what is this picture of?
That's the dent from the peach.
You want to say something?
I'll wait my turn, ma'am.
You may not have one.
Well, I'd like to say a lot of things, and that's not what he showed us where the dent was. He showed us a different car and a dent in his door on his car.
Really?
Yeah, I'd like to depict a few things. May I get up and talk?
Why don't you talk to your sons about how stupid they were?
Well, Your Honor.
Just a minute. Did you talk to your sons about how stupid they were?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good.
But, Your Honor.
I didn't ask you another
Well,
question.
he's
When
leaving
I
a lot of
asked you
things
another
out.
question, you weren't there.
Well, Your Honor, I came home.
Just answer my question. You were there or you weren't there?
Yeah, I was there.
You're a liar.
No, I was there after the peach fight and I came home. Yeah, I was there and seen what happened.
Just a second.
I was there. My kids aren't stupid.
The peach don't fall far from the tree.
That's fine, Your Honor. Touche, you know, whatever you got to say, but if you don't want to
I'm
let
going
me
to
talk...
say it because if I say to you, sir, were you present when this happened? And
The
you say
incident,
yes and you
yes.
weren't.
The whole incident, I have been present in some of the incidents, some of the things that happened, yes.
Get him
when
out
I
of here.
came home.
Get him out of here, please.
No problem.
Are you the mother?
His wife.
You guys, let's
Are you
go,
the
boys.
mother of these
We're out
children?
Here.
No.
We're out here.
You are not?
No.
Judgment for the plaintiff and the amount requested because he's taking his children out of here. There's no question in my mind they caused the damage. Judgment for the
Bye-bye,
plaintiff
Your
in the
Honor.
amount of $1,408.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
That's his case number 164 on the calendar in the matter of Safford versus Daniels.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Safford, the defendant is your child's maternal grandmother,
Yes, ma'am.
and your lawsuit claims that she had custody of this child for a while, and then you were ultimately awarded custody of your daughter,
Yes,
and you claim an overpayment of child support.
correct.
Ms. Daniels says that while you may have had physical custody of the child during that period, she actually had legal custody by a court order. Is that right?
Yes.
And
that's
therefore
right.
she is entitled to the support. Is that your defense?
That's my defense.
Your complaint was rather sketchy, Mr. Stafford, but from what I gather, you had a relationship with the defendant's daughter. Is this your daughter?
Yes, ma'am.
And the child was born, and you claim that you were told that you were not the child's father. Is that right?
That's correct.
Who told you you were not the child's father?
The social worker at the clinic there, the hospital where she was born.
When were you advised you were not the child's father?
The date of birth, I was present.
Is your name listed on the birth certificate?
No, it isn't.
Is someone else's name listed on the birth certificate?
Yes, after I had hired a lawyer, found out that the defendant's daughter was married, and she never told me.
So there is another man's name as the father of the child on the birth certificate?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor.
Yes.
He's not telling the truth. He knew my daughter was married. We're cousins. And he didn't want it.
Okay. Did you advise the plaintiff that he may not have been the father of this child?
No, he was living with her when she got pregnant.
That doesn't necessarily mean anything.
No, but he knew he was the father. My daughter told him. When he was present at birth, my daughter stated to him to sign the birth certificate.
Ma'am, that's
he
not
wouldn't
true.
put his name on it.
That's
Just a
not
minute.
true.
You weren't there.
She
No, I
wasn't
wasn't,
there.
but
You
my
weren't
daughter
there.
is here. She
You
can
weren't
tell
there.
you.
She refused to be there. She didn't want nothing to do with her daughter at the time when she
What
was giving
happened
birth.
when the baby
That's
was
not
born, sir?
true.
Because this is important.
What happened when Vendela was born was that she was placed in a foster home.
No, at the time of her birth.
Yes.
You were in the hospital when she was born.
Yes.
So at that point, you thought you were the child's father.
Yes, I was under the impression that we both were going to take a paternity test. The social worker came back and told me that Deirdre stated that I'm not the father of Vendela. And she said that the father's been named. I said, well, that's...
Don't speak because you weren't there.
My daughter
Don't
was.
speak because you weren't there. And your daughter was on drugs at the time.
No, she wasn't.
This child was born with traces of cocaine in her system?
Negative.
So why was the child placed in foster care?
Because of her past history, which I had no idea to the extent that it is.
You mean past drug history?
Yes.
And that's why the child was removed?
Correct.
You can stand up with your mother if you want to. At what point, sir, were you advised that you were the father of this child?
We took a genetic marker and paternity test
When?
in 99 of March,
When was your child born?
1/28/98.
Between January 28th of 1998 and March of 1999, had you seen this child?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
I didn't have no contact with the mother or the family after being told I wasn't the father.
And it was who that told you you were? Was it the social worker or was it the mother of the child?
The grandmother came into the picture probably 9 months later, subpoenaed me to court for paternity.
In 1998, you were told that someone else's name had been placed on the birth certificate.
Yes, ma'am.
Whose name was on the birth certificate?
It's my husband, which was separated. But he and I were engaged, and I was in the process of getting divorced.
There was no engagement.
second.
There was no ring involved. There
Just
was
a
none of
second.
that.
Somebody else's name was placed on the birth certificate at the time the child was born.
Because I was still married, and they have to do that in the state of Massachusetts.
No, she lied.
1998, the defendant summoned you to court. Is that right?
It was fall of '98.
Took the paternity test in March of '99, and the results of that test established that you were the child's father.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you initiate custody proceedings?
It was August 4th of '99 that the adjudication was supposed to have been heard. For some reason, I have no idea, it went on for, I believe, 7 months until I was adjudicated. I have the document here that was signed by both myself, the lawyer, and the defendant, the grandmother who was guarantee relative of Vendel at the time.
Okay, at the time, the child was ultimately taken out of foster care and placed in the care of her grandmother.
Correct.
You have other children of this daughter, don't you?
Yes, ma'am.
How many other children?
2, but I only have 1 now.
Why, is she taking one back?
No, she went to live with the father.
Did the grandmother consent to your having custody of the child?
There was a court hearing. She had no say in it because I was not mentally impaired or no drugs or anything like that.
How's your daughter doing now?
She's doing fine. I'm happy that I have her and that she's out of the environment that she's in. She's doing a lot better than she was.
Okay, when did you take physical custody of the child?
That was March 9th of 2000.
And how much child support were you paying that time?
It was $200 a week.
And when you were ultimately called to court, that was in '99, and they made a paternity order. They made a retroactive order so that you had to pay several $1,000s to the defendant.
Correct.
And you did, in fact, pay that.
Yes, that was satisfied.
How many weeks after you obtained custody of the child did the money continue to come out of your check?
Your Honor, why you look for that? Could I tell you?
Just a minute. Wait a second. I'll get to your side. Okay. I promise you.
A little over a month and a half.
So if you had custody for 7 weeks, that comes to $1,400. Okay, now it's up to you, Miss Daniels. Talk to me.
Okay. Back referring to when he said he was supposed to take custody in 1999, it was because he didn't want to have nothing to do with her. We went to court and we signed this paper, and he was supposed to take custody. He made no attempt to get a place to put her, no attempt to help pay for her living expense. He gave me nothing. And then he tell you that he don't know why. It was because he didn't want nothing to do with the baby. That's why he didn't take it in 1999. And I have this paper proving he signed it, and he's supposed to take custody of it. But he didn't because he didn't want to have nothing to do with her.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He pretended to be my friend and cared about me, and then we fell in love. He wanted a child. Then I had a drug relapse. I came to him and told him. He left me pregnant.
And later today...
You say he gave you the ring on May 8th. He says he gave it to you on April 1st. And you say that you hadn't seen the ring before.
Yes.
Baloney!
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Christopher Safford says his daughter's maternal grandmother, Linda Daniels, owes for the return of child support.
Listen, your daughter created this problem.
Yes.
And I'm going to explain how your daughter created this problem. She was married to somebody else at the time she gave birth to this child.
True.
Which means, according to her, they must put his name on the birth certificate,
True.
that her husband. That's not always true. Doesn't have to put it down if she says he's not the father. He could be legally compelled to support the child until somebody else gets on the hook for support. However, she created this problem because
Not by
she
herself,
cannot...
Your Honor.
Well, just pay attention. If this child went on welfare, welfare wouldn't know who to sue for the support. Do you sue the father who's on the birth certificate, or do you sue this man who hasn't been adjudicated the father? I mean, he's had the child now for a considerable period of time. The court would not have given him the child if he was unfit to have the child.
The court didn't give him the child at the time he took her.
Ma'am.
We gave her
Ma'am.
after.
Ma'am, if I may?
No, you
What?
don't have your
I
turn.
need to
For me.
say
She talking to me now.
Go ahead.
Can I speak?
Go ahead.
This situation, I admit, this situation is my fault. But with my kids, the reason my kids are there with them, it's because I put them there. I've maintained a job and security, but I was not stable enough. And with him, he came to my family. We're cousins. He told my mom he was going to help me. He pretended to be my friend and cared about me, and then we fell in love, and he knew I was married, and then we got engaged. My mom had problems. She told him to stay away from me. He wanted a child. Then I had a drug relapse because I got clean. I had a drug relapse. I came to him and told him. He left me pregnant. I put myself in the hospital. That's why my baby wasn't born with
like
drugs
this is
in
a
her
joke.
system.
It's not true.
I put my baby in the hospital so she
Because
wouldn't be clean.
My
and
daughter,
I put my kids with my mom.
My
in
daughter
foster
suffered
care.
from bipolar. I told Chris this.
And they took me off
She
all
had a
medication.
drug problem. I told
And
Chris
that's how
that
I
too.
relapsed.
But he was working with social people. He said the people that had drug problems, that he could help her.
I don't.
He
I
helped
never
her all
worked
right.
with people with
yes,
drug problems.
Yes, you did.
No.
Listen,
That's what you
How do you know
told
what
me.
I've done for work?
You told me
listen,
that.
Stop talking to each other. Listen to me. Listen to me. If he had physical custody of this child for a period of 7 weeks, you had no right to receive the support for the child. Whether you had, I don't care whether he took her or not. The court left her with him. She's not.
She had custody. He kidnapping
I
charge.
don't care.
He took her.
I don't care. The money, listen to me, the money is supposed to go for the support of the child. If he's giving her money, that means he has less money to support the child with. It's not her money, it's the child's money.
I didn't take it for myself.
That was money owed to her.
Ma'am,
No. She's
a kept baby in the state of Massachusetts.
No. Listen to me.
You cannot get welfare with a family kept baby.
Listen to me
And he
very
owed her.
carefully. For the first several months of this child's life, the child was in foster care.
Yes.
2 years she had her with no money.
She didn't
Just
have
a
it for
minute.
2 years.
Then
Yes, I
there
did.
was a lump sum paid. Both parties acknowledged that there was a lump sum paid at
Yes.
the time when he was finally adjudicated the father.
Yes.
It should have went to the state.
No, it shouldn't have.
Several $1,000s. What I'm saying to you is, this money, while the child was in his custody, that you got from his check, should have taken that money and said, here, make sure the baby has this money, because I'm not supposed to have it. It's not supposed to help defray my costs, my rent, my gas, it's supposed to go for the baby. So you owe him $1,400 and pay him. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm upset because my mom,
He is a liar.
My mom got, she took care of my kids.
Clearly, all the allegations are not true.
He wouldn't even be a man and take his daughter when we called and told him to please come get her.
As far as me taking care of my daughter, I've been doing that from day one since she gave her up.
And he's put my mom through this, and no one's getting hurt but our daughter.
It was clearly money motivated.
I'm not hurt. He's hurting the baby, not me.
It's clearly a mother taking control of her own daughter's life.
He left me pregnant with my baby.
I told you to leave him alone.
People like this need to be exposed.
Plus, he's cousin. You don't mess with your cousin.
When people like this come into court and clog the system up using our tax dollars and make a mockery out of it, that shouldn't be done.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of D'Aquila versus Roden, step forward, please.
20-year-old retail manager John D'Aquila is suing his ex-fiancée, 20-year-old assistant office manager Dawn Roden, for the return of an engagement ring. Dawn says they were never engaged.
Mr. D'Aquila, you are suing for the return of an engagement ring that you claim that you gave to the defendant.
Yes.
Let me hear about it.
Well, Dawn and I were originally together back in September of '99, and we were together until September 17th of 2000. She had gotten married after that, and she was having marital problems around the time of March of 2002, and she came to me. We talked, we were friends for a while. We started seeing each other again March 24th of 2002, and around the time about April 1st, I had proposed to her, and she
was still married at the time.
Yeah, she was. She was going through a divorce.
She wasn't living with her husband.
No, she was not. She was separated. She was living with her grandparents in Lynbrook. I proposed to her. She had accepted. The next day, we had gone to look at rings. We were just going to look, and she eventually talked me into getting an engagement ring. And I purchased the engagement ring and gave it to her that day.
On April 1st?
Yes.
Go ahead.
We were together for about almost 2 months. I was making plans on moving in. I was helping clean up the basement, get everything set up so we can move together. She was going through her custody battle. And I'd say about the second week in May, we'd gotten into a fight. She did throw the ring into my face, and I gave it back to another friend of hers. They called me back about 10 minutes later. They picked me up. We went out. By the end of the night, everything was fine. She had the ring on her finger again, and everything was, we were fine. Not too long afterwards, I had gotten a text message saying, don't take this the wrong way. Don't call me. I'll call you. I need some time to think. I gave her about a day or so. I called her back. She said she wanted to see other people. I said, I'll live with her decision. I just wanted my ring back then. And we made an agreement that on our next class, she was going to give me the ring back.
What kind of class?
It was for financial services that we were doing for our licenses.
You were taking this class together?
Yes. We were business partners at the time. And first time she said that she had forgotten the ring. So I said, just bring it to me on our next meeting. And the day that meeting came, she never came. I called her cell phone. Her friend Janine had picked up the phone, said that Dawn was not there. I got a call later back that night saying that the ring was stolen along with her friend's car.
Who did you get the call from?
Dawn. Dawn called me back later that night.
That the ring was stolen?
Yes.
How was it stolen?
The ring was never stolen, Your Honor. There was no ring. Me and my husband had gotten separated. Me and John did remain friends, and that was around March 16th was the day I had separated from my husband. On May 8th, it was a Wednesday night, me and my friend, we went to the meeting in Lindenhurst where he had another one of his friends with him.
What kind of meeting?
It was the meeting for the financial services. It was one of those meetings. We had went back to his house, and he had to drop his friends off at the mall, so we all met back at his house. He then told me that he was going to hang out with us, and then all of a sudden he was saying that he was tired, and I'm like, oh, okay, you're tired, you know, whatever, you know, go inside. And he was like, oh, okay. He's like, but first, before I go inside, I want to show you something. He took
And what date was this?
This was on May 8th.
Go ahead.
He then proceeded to take a box out and hand me a ring. I said, what is this? He's like, I want to marry you. And I said, how can I marry you when I'm not even divorced yet? I was still very upset that me and my husband were separated. And I then threw the ring at him right after I had made a 911 call because he would not get out of my car. And my friend and I both heard the ring fall off of his chest where it had landed and hit the ground.
Because you were wearing it later that night, though. That's the odd part.
And after the fact of that, we eventually talked. I hadn't seen him with the ring the rest of the night. And we went to the karaoke bar backstage, which is located in Woodmere, New York. He then pulled my friend Janine aside, and he had told her everything that happened and how he couldn't find the ring.
Do you have the sales slip for the ring?
Yes, I do.
May I see it, please? So you say that he gave you this ring on May 8th.
Yes.
He says he gave you the ring on April 1st.
Yes, and we called him.
Just a second.
Okay.
Well, he certainly bought it on April 1st.
May I say one other thing?
Yes.
I have also, we did a financial needs analysis for the company that we do work for, and it is a custom thing to do it. You know, most engaged or married couples will do it, and we did it. It has both of our names on it, and the date of which this is done and the ring is one of the debts. Her social security number is inside of it, and
Let me
it's
see
needed
it,
through
please.
her.
Did you fill out this report with him?
Yes, I did. We were going to become business partners.
I asked you whether you filled this out with him.
Yes.
Because it has your information on it.
Yes.
You know what date you filled it out?
I honestly do not.
May 1st. And you say that you threw a ring back at him that he gave you on May 8th.
Yes.
That you hadn't seen the ring before.
Yes.
Baloney! Madam, this lists the debt on the ring. Current debt, ring, $1,000, and the payment on the ring. You want to explain that to me, Miss Roden?
At the time that I filled it out, he only asked me my information. I was sitting in the other room with his mother and his aunt who was over at the time. The rest of the information he filled out by himself. I was not sitting at the table with him when he filled out that information.
So what? You say he gave you the ring on May 8th. He says he gave it to you on April 1st. So what you're suggesting is that he held on to the ring for 5.5 weeks before he gave it to you, right?
Yes.
And then you filled out this application together showing your income, showing your liabilities and everything else, and you knew nothing about the fact that he put in ring monthly bills.
Exactly.
Did you sign this thing? Did you sign it?
On the back of it, yes, I did. I did not.
Get out of here. I don't care whether you lost it, whether you stole it. You're full of baloney. He paid $1,149.55 for the ring. That's what you owe him. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Yeah, this is case number 295 on the calendar in the matter of Mergner versus Thicket. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Miss Mergner, you were at a party, and it is your claim that the defendant, while acting like a complete imbecile, started to hit golf balls off the hood of your car because somebody had said something to him that offended him.
Mm-hmm.
And he caused over $2,000 worth of damage to the roof of your car. Mr. Thicket says he did no such thing, and the only reason that you're suing him is probably because you were in some way infatuated with him, as all women are. And when you found out that he had a girlfriend, you probably got angry or something like that, right?
Something like that, Your Honor, yes.
Did you know him before this
No.
party?
No, I don't.
Who saw him on top of the car?
My witness, Joe Moore.
And I have the witness up here. Tell me your name, sir.
Joe Moore.
Mr. Moore, on what date was this party?
May 20-something. I'm not sure the exact date.
Where was it?
Tucson, Arizona, Grant and Silver Barrel.
At a friend's house.
Yes, ma'am.
What's the name of the friend?
Sean.
Don't look like a deer in headlights, sir. I'm not going to
Sure.
attack you. I'm just asking you some preliminary questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, how many people were at this party?
30 at the most. A lot more than 30.
And was, don't speak until I speak to you. Was the defendant one of those people?
Yes, ma'am.
The plaintiff says that you actually observed the defendant doing something in or around or on her car.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what you saw.
I saw the defendant standing on top of the car and kind of give a little jump as to indent the roof of the car. This is ridiculous, Your Honor. He has nothing to go on this.
I don't want you to speak. What word didn't you understand when I said it nicely before?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
I saw him do that and then proceed to like drop a golf ball and take the club and just start hitting a couple of golf balls after.
And then what did you do?
I turned around and I walked back in the house. I found my friend Shane, and I said, there's some guy outside jumping up and down on somebody's car, hitting golf balls off the top of the car with your golf clubs. So you might want to call the cops. You might want to come out here and check this out. And then
The police arrive?
No, ma'am. The police never arrived that night.
Who told you that something had happened to your car? Or did anybody?
Not until after the fact. He had already left. He basically wrecked the party. And my boyfriend had just graduated. It was his graduation party from the University of Arizona. So he decides to show up wearing an Arizona State hat. And
I don't care about that. I read that somebody was wearing the wrong kind of, he was wearing the wrong kind of
that's what
hat. Somebody
started
called him a jerk.
This is silly, Your Honor. This is what it's all about.
You're the...
Shh. Listen to me. When did you actually see the damage to your car?
Not until after he left, probably 2 in the morning.
Exactly.
Let me see the estimate for the damage.
This is the estimate.
Mr. Fickett, 2 times I've told you not to speak until I get to your side, which I believe I have assured you that...
I'm just shocked to hear all this. This is so ridiculous. Like, I can't believe she's like actually saying this. She has nothing to go on, no proof.
My mouth is running. When my mouth is running, yours doesn't run.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm going to say it one more time, and I'm going to try to say it as tastefully and with as much judicial temperament as I can muster. Keep your mouth shut until I talk to you. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You have pictures of the car?
Yes.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Looks like hail damage, Your Honor.
I assume what I'm looking at in some of these pictures are a footprint.
Yes. His footprints were all over.
Okay, now I'll hear you, Mr. Fickett.
All right, I went to this party. The only reason I went to this party was because my friend Nick, who wrestles at ASU, was visiting. And we went to the party, me and my girlfriend Kim here, went to the party just to hang out with him. We're having a casual discussion outside, me and my friend Nick. And from what she tells me, there were like a group of girls, maybe her friends, maybe someone didn't like her, maybe someone didn't like me. I don't know for what reason. There were a group of girls like, just whispering and gossiping like in the corner. She knows more about that than me. I was just hanging out. We were there maybe for an hour, hour and a half. It was graduation night at U of A. There were like 3 parties on the street. I wasn't even drinking. I mean, they were probably drunk as all hell being graduation. The reason I wasn't drinking was because I had a wrestling match the next morning. I fight professionally, and I'm known to be like rumored about to be like this big tough guy that causes all this trouble. And it's just a reputation that beholds me that isn't true. And this is just another jealous person or angry person that just wants to blame stuff on me, either because her car's really damaged, I don't know, or maybe she has something against me or my girlfriend.
She doesn't have anything against you.
Well, she has something against me if she wants to make this stuff up and bring me to court for
Mr.
it.
Fickett. Pay careful attention to me, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
She doesn't have anything against you. She doesn't have anything against your girlfriend. She didn't see you do any damage to her car. She didn't tell the police she saw you do any damage to her car. She didn't tell me that she saw you do any damage to her car. He saw you do damage to her car. He doesn't want to date you. We don't want to blame the wrong person, do we?
No, ma'am.
You want to blame somebody. Blame Mr. Moore. Maybe he's jealous of you.
any which way, she's coming up with a false witness
No.
to come up with her case.
No. She goes outside and she finds that her car has been damaged. She says, who damaged my car?
Well, if it was so urgent, why
says-
weren't the cops there that night? Why didn't she call the cops that night? Why is my name not in the police report? I mean,
Just a second. They did call the police. But from what you tell me, sir, it was graduation night. The police were probably very, very busy and not swift to respond to some fool standing on top of a car hitting golf balls off somebody's roof. They had other things to worry about, so they didn't show up.
I
But
arrived
it
at
is
the party.
clear to me that somebody was on the hood of this car. It is clear to me that somebody took a flying leap while they were on this car. And what I would try to figure out, Mr. Fickett, is why Mr. Moore would lie to me about having seen you do that. Did you have any prior relationship with him? Did you have any
I don't know
prior
these
problem
people.
with
I was
him?
at the party because of a friend of a friend.
Okay. So you don't. Just a second. So you don't know him. Is that right? You don't know him at all.
No.
Why in the world would somebody make up a story like that about you?
Because this petty girl's crying about someone damaging her car, and they need someone to blame.
So they blamed you.
I guess. Maybe they
You
don't
want
like
to tell
Arizona
me
State.
something?
It's me.
Step up, young lady.
I was
me your
there.
name.
My name's Kim.
Okay, Kim.
And I was there with him the whole night. This is kind of almost funny to us. When you pull into the street, when we first pulled into the street of where the party was going on, we had no idea where it was because, like he said, there was three parties. I mean, it's a big street. We had to park like 2 streets down. There was tons of cars, tons of people walking around all over the place.
Get to the point.
Anybody could have done this. When he stands up here and gives like an oath, like, I'm sorry, but my dad's a minister. I don't know if you're religious, but that's like not cool. You don't stand up here because I was with him the whole night. The whole night. I stayed with him. I sat outside. Excuse me, I'm talking. I sat outside. I was talking to, I seen a girlfriend of mine that I used to work with. He's talking to Nick. I'm talking to my girlfriend. An hour later, I go, I got a sociology class in the morning. You got a wrestling tournament. We better go. We hopped in the car. We said goodbye to everybody. And we left. The only person that we knew there was Nick and this girl that I had just seen there. And, you know, I mean, there was so many people there and there was so many parties going on at any time that I just can't comprehend how this guy is saying this. I was with him the whole night. I was by his side. I walked in the house at one point to go to the bathroom. And when he says 30 people, 70, if not more, when I walked in.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Lovely young lady. Well, I have to make a judgment as to why Mr. Moore here would make up a story about having seen you cause the damage to the plaintiff's car. Now, I can understand why your girlfriend would tell me that you were together all evening, which isn't even true according to her, because she did go inside for a while to go to the bathroom. Probably was inside at least 10 minutes, because it takes that much time to get through 70 people to find out where the bathroom is and to get out. She wasn't with you the entire evening. The estimated damage is some $2,000 on this car. And it's not a new car.
Yeah, it's new to me, though.
I understand that. How much did you pay for it?
Roughly $5,000.
What do you mean, roughly $5,000?
Because my mom gave it to me. And it was originally her car. And so
it was originally her car, and your mother gave it to you as a gift.
Because I'm going to school and I need a car.
Terrific. And this damage that was done to the car doesn't affect its drivability.
No, but I have to look at it every day and be reminded of him.
Of course you do. And I'm sure that if I award you $2,000, you're going to find a way to have it fixed for that $2,000. So that's what I'm awarding you. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He likes to pick fights with people, and that's what he likes to do. And that's why he obviously wasn't invited. We don't associate with people like him.
They don't have anything better to do. They can't sit down and have a conversation like we were doing the whole night. They have to, yeah, dude, where's some pie of beer?
Everyone I talk to says he's psycho.
I've had jealous gossip about me before, and I just thought this was one of those cases. We found the golf club later, but it was broken in half at that point, so.
He fights in the rage in the cage circuit. That's #1 reason why he's so well known, and that's why people think he's so crazy.
University of Arizona is the way to go.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Mullendor versus Mayfield. Step forward, please.
21-year-old baker Janelle Mullendor is suing her ex-boyfriend's girlfriend, 21-year-old homemaker Melinda Mayfield, for smashing out her car windows. Melinda is countersuing, claiming Janelle trashed her apartment.
Miss Mullendor, you and the defendant have a boyfriend in common, and one of you has a child with him. Which one has the child?
I have a child with Christopher.
Where's Christopher?
He is at work.
What kind of work does Christopher do?
He's a furniture salesman, and he moves furniture.
Invisible as he should be. In any event, Miss Mellendor, is your claim that the defendant vandalized your car?
Yes.
As a matter of fact, she was arrested for vandalizing your car.
Yes.
And you went to some sort of a mediation, a criminal mediation?
Yes.
And at the mediation, you promised to do something. What did you promise to do, Miss Mayfield?
I agreed that I would pay Janelle back for the balance owed on her windows that she had to pay. And in the same note, she agreed that she would stay out of my life, out of Christopher's life, and out of our son's life. Leave us alone. And
okay, now I assume that that was reduced to a writing.
Yes.
Can I see it, please? Because suffice it to say that the payment for the window was never made, and you have a defense to that. So let me see what you agreed to.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Out!
I was a witness to...
Did you hear what I said to you? Out!
Did you want me to leave?
Yes. What does out mean?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Janelle Mullendor says her ex-boyfriend's girlfriend, Melinda Mayfield, smashed out her car windows and refuses to pay. Melinda says Janelle won't stay out of her life.
Did you do community service?
No.
They call you Mindy?
Yeah, that's my nickname.
Yeah. Why didn't you do community service?
I had spoken to the woman a few times, and she said they had a list that they were going to mail out to me of places to call in community service, and they never did. And
so you just didn't do that, and you didn't pay her the $520 that you agreed to pay her.
Nope. I have pictures.
Just a second. Don't need any pictures. She said she went through a mediation. Instead of getting arrested, having a record, she agreed to pay for the windows and apologized for breaking them. That's what it says here. So she didn't do community service, and she didn't pay the $520. You didn't have to show me anything. When did you break the windows? And don't tell me I didn't break the windows.
Well, I did not break the windows.
Okay, you did break the windows. When did you break the windows?
She broke them on the November 20th of '01.
Tell me the circumstances of her breaking the windows.
She came over to Christopher's apartment, which I was there. We were not allowing her into the apartment because she was very angry. And she banged on the door and she said if I didn't come out, she was going to break all my windows out in my car. And I was like, Christopher, you need to go out there and talk to her. This is your business. Well, she went and got the tire iron out of her car, and she broke out my front windshield, my side windshield, and my back windshield.
And you saw her do that?
Yes.
Okay.
I was not there. I was at my brother's house with
I don't
him.
believe him. I don't believe you. Now, let's go for it. It doesn't make any difference. You agreed to pay for the windows.
So she would stay away from me and my son.
You didn't pay for the windows. Now, you give me the defense.
The reason I did not pay, because in this agreement, she strictly said she was not going to come around me, my child, or my boyfriend. She said she was going to stay out of her life. She asked for some property that was in the apartment, which I did not know whether or not any of it was hers. I asked Christopher. He said yes, that some of it was, not all of it. We agreed to make a time with her to come give her the things. On Saturday...
So now Christopher's gone back to you?
Yes.
So from being with her, he decided to go back to you?
We've been together since the baby was born.
Was the baby born in November?
January 1st, 2000.
Oh, okay. So while you were pregnant, he was with her.
Right.
And then after the baby was born, he came back to you.
Right.
The prize, who's selling furniture someplace. Okay. So now he's back living with you.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So March 23rd, 3 days after our mediation, me and my brother went to my apartment to pick up laundry. Shanda met us over there. Whenever I got there, my door was unlocked. I went inside. My entire apartment was ransacked and trashed. Pictures of me and Christopher holding our son for the first time were demolished, smashed, ripped, torn. And when I spoke to the lady about the mediation, she said that...
what does that have to do with you paying the $520?
The things missing were the things she asked for in the agreement. She obviously didn't stay away. She broke in. She refuses to get out of his life. She lives with his brother. She calls, harasses, she comes by, drives by our house repeatedly.
You choose to have a baby with a loser. That's your problem. You get involved with and that makes you a loser. Hopefully, you'll grow up so that your child won't be a loser.
My child's
but right now, oh yeah, raised by two losers. Unless you wisen up, somebody who lives with one woman while he's impregnated another woman.
She didn't live with him.
Just a minute. Hangs around with her while he's got a pregnant lady who's due to deliver in about 3 months, and then said, well, now I'm going to go live with her, and doesn't have the moral fortitude to come to court with either one of them because he had to work selling his furniture, or was he running IBM? I'm not sure which one you told me, right? That person is a loser. Now, you made an agreement which would keep you from having a record, and that was that you were going to pay for her windows. That's what you do. And if you believe that she was responsible for burglarizing your apartment and for vandalizing your apartment, you call and you make a police report, and if they find her prints there, then they will arrest her. But you don't take it upon yourself to say, listen, I think she's the one who broke into my apartment.
I know she is. She took everything that she wanted.
Pay attention.
She has no proof she busted out the windows either.
Get out. Get out. This is not a dance party.
I'm sorry.
Get out. Out.
I was a witness to it.
Did you hear what I said to you? Out.
Did you want me to leave?
Yes. What does out mean?
I'm sorry about that.
Just out. Out is out. Bottom line, you make an agreement with the criminal justice system. You abide by that decision. And if you feel as if she's breached the decision, you don't resort to self-help and say, I don't have to keep my end of the bargain.
This is what the mediators told me. They said,
listen to me.
Okay, I'm listening.
Tell me what the mediators told you. These are the same mediators who didn't send you a list of places to go to do your community service. Everybody's screwing up except you.
Yep.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $520. That's
Hello,
all.
I have a claim.
This is case number 303 on the calendar in the matter of Macklin versus Nave. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats.
Mr. Macklin, it is your claim that the defendant bit off your ear, or a good piece of it,
Yes,
during the course of an assault.
correct.
The defendant says he was defending not only himself, but really his sister when this incident took place. Is that right?
Yes.
So let me try to put this into context as I understand your complaint. Mr. Macklin, you were having a get-together, a party at your house with some friends and acquaintances. Among the people that were there, according to what you tell me in your complaint, was the defendant's sister.
Correct.
Someone who you knew casually. So far, am I correct?
Correct.
Is this the sister?
Yes, it is.
At some point during the evening, according to you, this gentleman appeared at your door. You asked him what he wanted. He said who he was, and he said, I'm here to pick up my sister. And you told him to get out.
Correct.
And sometime later, this altercation took place.
Yes.
You also tell me in your complaint, sir, that you had noticed some shenanigans going on with some men going into the bathroom with the defendant's sister. You
Yes.
didn't know what was going on in there, but I assume that you thought it was something of a sexual nature. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, I am assuming that you saw that before he came to pick his sister up.
Yes.
Why did you close the door in his face when he came to pick up his sister?
Because he was demanding some money.
Well, tell me about that, sir.
His sister is a dancer, a stripper. So he was demanding money. She claims I promised her some money to come strip at my party.
Oh, well, you didn't put that in your complaint, sir. So there's a whole other piece to this story that neither of you put in your papers. Is she a dancer?
Not now, she is not.
Was she then?
I believe so, yes.
What do you mean you believe so?
I don't know everything she does.
What prompted you, sir, to go to the house to pick up your sister?
I was called, I was at a bar, I was called, she had been at a bar with him. I was invited to his house to an after party.
You said you were at a bar and you got a call.
Of
Who
an
did you
after
get
party.
a call from?
My sister.
And what did your sister say to you when she called you?
Her friend was having an after party, wanted to know if I wanted to come there.
So you didn't speak to him, you spoke to your sister.
No, I spoke to him, he answered the door, let me in.
No, no, no. Before you
Yeah.
got there, listen to me very carefully. And if you don't tell me the truth about everything, you see, you're going to be tripping over your tie that you're not wearing. So I just want you to pay careful attention to me. When you got to the house, you hadn't spoken to him. You spoke to your sister who said, come over to this after party.
Yes, ma'am.
So you weren't going there to pick up your sister. You were going there because you had been invited to a party.
Yes.
Now, you said that when you got there, you could tell she was upset about something. When did you see her? When he opened the door?
Yeah.
And what made you think she was upset about something?
I could just tell. It's my sister, I can tell.
So he closed the door.
No, he let me in.
Oh, he did?
Yes, I had a big stack of CDs. I came in, had drinks, was there for probably an hour or so. I had CDs, was playing music, having a good old time for a while.
And then what happened?
Him and his friends wanted to start acting crazy, try to jump me, threw me through a coffee table.
Why do you think they did that after an hour?
I have no idea. I don't know them.
Just a second. Did he come into the house, Mr. Macklin?
Yes, he did.
All right. So you closed the door, told him to leave, but when did he come back?
It started with, I had this after party. I had friends. He was not invited to my house. His sister was. He barged into my house and assaulted me. He didn't get thrown through a coffee table. He threw one of my friends through a coffee table.
I thought you said you closed the door and told him to leave.
That's after he demanded money. He demanded money because he said...
So he was in the house already?
Yes.
Can I say something?
Just a second. Tell me what he said when he demanded money.
He says, you owe my sister $100. I said, this is my house, you can leave. Get out.
And what happened?
He left.
And then what happened?
Well, I was in my room looking on the computer with my witness, Janet, and all of a sudden I heard a loud crash. I'm like, what the heck's going on? Next thing you know, him and a bunch of his buddies are in my bedroom beating me up. You know, they come crashing through with a bunch of his buddies. They were beating me up.
Crashing through where?
They crashed through my bedroom. I was in my bedroom. You know, I was in my bedroom with her on the computer. And all of a sudden, all these guys just come rushing in.
You mean you're having a party with somebody who may or may not have been a dancer, and you got a whole bunch of people there having a good time, dancing, drinking, having fun, and you're inside on your computer in your bedroom?
Correct. Yes, we were in my bedroom on the internet, yes. So, you know, I didn't know what the heck was going on. I'd never seen this guy before in my life. Never seen him before in my life. So I picked up a gun. They were like, he's got a gun, he's got a gun. So they went running outside. So I ran outside, and as they was running, they were crashing my house. I walked out my living room. It was just a shambles, you know. So I walked outside, went into the courtroom, down the stairs to get a license plate number, and all of a sudden, me and him got into a confrontation.
And what happened when you got into a confrontation?
We got into a confrontation. We started fighting. We went down to the ground, and we were rolling around.
And that's when you got your ear bitten?
Correct.
Okay. And where was the gun at that time?
Oh, it was in the house. I mean, it didn't even have a clip in it or anything like that.
I don't care whether it had a clip or not. You're telling me that you put the gun back inside when you went outside?
Oh, yes. I mean,
oh, yes. Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead. Now, let me hear you.
We was there partying and got in a big fight. I got through a coffee table.
What did you get into a fight about?
I don't really even know. They was all mad at her or something. I don't even know. I don't like to get involved in her affairs. But I was just there. I was just there to have a good time, party. The bars were closed, so I stopped by, you know, to have a couple drinks. It was still a little early. Well, I get jumped, get through a coffee table. I was jumped up. I had a whole bunch of CDs, a book that holds about 100 CDs that I had brought with me to play some music. I was grabbing that. While I was grabbing that, he was grabbing his gun from in between the mattresses. I take off running. I'm jumping down flights of stairs. I'm not even running down the stairs. I'm jumping down them. I lose, you know, about 15 CDs. I'm trying to shove them back in the book. At this time, she yells, gun. So I thought he was coming at me with the gun. I took off running, ran around the building, which I was parked right in the front. I was so, you know, drunk and scared. I ran around the building. When I ran back, he met me. You know, he chased me outside. I don't know if he had the gun or not. It was dark. He came up to me and goes, I have no problem with you, and hit me. When he did that, I had to do what I had to do. And I don't know what made me think to bite his ear off. All I knew is he had a gun.
I did not chase him with a gun. It was in my house. These guys, he came with a bunch of
buddies. He chased me outside, though.
Just a second. Step up. Tell me your first name.
Jenny.
What were you doing there, Jenny?
I just went there to just go chill after a party.
After what party?
It was an after-bar party.
What were you doing in the bathroom with these guys?
I was in no bathroom with no guys. I was standing in the kitchen when my brother got there.
What do you do professionally?
Right now, I stay home with my child.
Okay. Before you stayed home with your child, did you do any professional dancing?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He was drunk. You were drunk. I have no idea about her. That's what happens when you get drunk. What do you want from me?
And later today.
How much was the ring?
$2,700, $2,500.
I'm trying to resolve this, Mr. Lupo. I don't want you to think that this is an interview for The Sopranos. Do you understand?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Vincent Macklin says Joshua Nave crashed his party, started a fight, and bit off part of his ear.
Go ahead.
Can I show you this? It says right here, it's a police report where he says the victim stated, which is him, that he was very drunk, and the incident would not have happened if he wasn't so drunk.
So were you.
No, I was not that drunk.
You just a second. You just told me.
I said I
you
had been drinking.
No, no, no. That's not what you said.
No.
That's not what you said. You said you ran outside. You ran the wrong way because you were drunk and
Well, I was
scared.
scared, yeah.
No. You said drunk and scared is what you said. He was drunk. You were drunk. I have no idea about her. That's what happens when you get drunk. What do you want from me? What do you want from me? That's what happens when you have a wild drinking party at your house.
But I was at my house.
I don't care if you were in your house.
He came to my house with his buddies and jumped me.
Listen
He's
to
not
me.
saying that his buddies were there.
Listen to me. You let him into your house. You may not have liked what happened once he was there. I don't know what was going on. Everybody was drinking, brawling. Everybody was, who knows what they were doing in the bathroom, in the kitchen.
Party.
Listen to me, sir. You let him into your house. You had too much to drink. He had too much to drink. You picked up a gun, licensed, I'm sure. Is that right?
Yes, the police officers have all this on record.
Good. He takes off. You take off after him. He doesn't know whether you still have the gun. Confront each other according to you. And the fight was on.
He's not telling a vital part. He had a bunch of buddies with him. He brought a whole gang of guys that started ruining my house. He didn't get thrown through. He threw my buddy through a table.
You just told me you ran out after him to get a license plate.
Because they...
That's what you told me.
Yes.
And you had already, in your bedroom, picked up a gun. He was fleeing. You had not been injured up until that point. Is that correct?
The gun never left the house. He brought a gang of people into my house. If someone comes to your house and invades your house...
Mr. Macklin, call the police.
I couldn't. They were beating me up. They were beating me up, and they threw a friend of mine through a glass coffee table.
Listen, Mr. Macklin, I wasn't born yesterday, sir. You just told me 2 seconds ago that you were inside with this young lady in your bedroom playing on the computer, on the internet.
Correct.
In the same moment that you were playing on the computer on the internet, you go into your bedroom, you call the police, and you say, a group of people have just invaded my house.
That's not the way it happened. He came crashing through the bedroom. He came through with his buddies and started beating me up.
You're going to have an answer for everything. You're not going to have an answer for me. If you allow a drunken brawl to get going in your house, and then later you have a fight with him, and you get the worst of the fight because he bites you during the course of the fight, what do you want from me?
That's not what happened.
Goodbye. The case is dismissed. Next time, make sure that you don't invite people who you don't know to your house.
Officer, excuse me, step out.
I've suffered. I've half my ear bitten off.
I don't feel it's right that I bit his ear off, but I don't feel it's right that they can jump me and pull a gun on me.
I have doctor's bill. I have cosmetic surgery that needs to be done.
I was scared. I had to do what I had to do.
You know, I just need to be careful on who I invite over my house from now on.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hastaba versus Lupo, step forward, please.
21-year-old accountant Nicole Hastaba is suing her ex-fiancé, 26-year-old mechanic Christopher Lupo, for his share of a wedding that never happened.
Mrs. Hastaba, you and the defendant have been engaged to be married. And according to your complaint, you broke the engagement for whatever reason, and you had an agreement with the defendant that you were each going to contribute to the wedding.
Correct.
You put down certain deposits on things for the wedding, and when the engagement was broken, the defendant refused to pay you half of the deposits, which was your agreement. In addition, you purchased a wedding dress that you claimed that you stored or left at the defendant's mother's home that he refuses to return to you. Mr. Lupo says that you did have an agreement that you were going to share the costs of the wedding, correct?
Yes, correct.
But when you broke the engagement, you kept everything. I don't know what everything is. And in addition, you kept the engagement ring.
Correct.
So he's not paying for anything, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so you really want the engagement ring back, right?
Yeah. Yes.
You're a quick learner. Did you want your dog?
No, she could keep it. Just the point, like, if I wanted to take it back, she wouldn't have gave it to me anyway, but, you know, she can keep it.
Mr. Lupo, do you want your dog? The answer is no, she could keep the dog.
She could keep the dog.
But you want your personal items back?
Yes.
And the engagement ring?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have his personal items? Is not an answer,
I
madam.
do have some of his clothes at the house.
Well, tell me, what do you have?
Maybe some sweatpants. I mean, it's
Do you
really
have
nothing
a jacket?
I didn't see the leather jacket. I did look for it, and I didn't find it.
Now, where's the engagement ring?
I have the engagement ring. I told him I'll give it back to him. I have no problem giving it back to him as long as I get the money for the from the deposits. But I did pay $300 towards the engagement ring, and I have that also.
Did she pay some money towards the engagement ring, Mr. Lupo?
Yes, she did.
How much was the ring?
$2,700, $2,500.
I'm trying to resolve this, Mr. Lupo, and I don't want you to. I don't want you to think that this is an interview for The Sopranos. Do you understand? It is not. It is not. So we're going to try to behave like this is a courtroom, and this is a serious piece of business.
She has the receipts.
Mr. Lupo, do you understand what I'm saying to you, sir?
Yes, I do.
Yes, you do, because I'm sure that you don't talk the way you're talking to me if you go and you're talking to a priest. Do you understand? You understand? You try to act respectfully, which is exactly what I expect. I expect you to act as if you would talk. Strike that. I expect you to talk as if you were talking to a doctor who just told you that he thought you had a terminal illness. Okay? Does that settle it down for you?
Yes.
Good. Perfect. Now, how much was the engagement ring, sir?
It was around $2,700.
Is that correct?
I wasn't there when he bought it.
Fine. Is it a nice ring? Do you have it with you?
I don't have it with me, no.
Fine. $2,700. And she gave you $300 towards the ring?
Yeah, because she wanted to change the diamond.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
Yes. Next time you get engaged, sir, don't let your fiancé give you anything towards the ring. It's tacky, especially when you're spending so much for the ring.
Well, I thought she would have been happy with the diamond I gave her, but she wanted to change it. So.
That should have been something that gave you a ding-a-ling, ding-a-ling, ding-a-ling. Okay. So far we're down to $2,400 that the ring was worth. Now, how much were the deposits that you put down?
Half of it is $2,100.
Okay, $2,100.
$2,110.
And does your mother have her wedding dress?
I'm not sure. I'll be honest with you, I don't know where it is.
I'm sure she has it. If that's where you put the wedding dress, right, you gave it to his mother.
I left it at his house because I figured it would be better kept there.
So you have to get the wedding dress back. Do you understand? You're going to get the engagement ring back because we're going to resolve this very fast because clearly you two folks are not in love anymore, right? Well, at least if you are still in love, you're going to start at ground zero so that you can start building on this lovely relationship again if you so choose. Once you get back the engagement ring, you don't want to give it to anybody else, so you're going to sell it. Then you'll have some money to give her back for the deposits. Is that reasonable?
That's reasonable.
There you go. Look how happy you are. Now, you're going to look very, very hard for his personal property. You have some sweaters that belong to him. He's looking for his jacket. He wants his jacket back in addition to the engagement ring. Clear?
Yes.
Now, you are going to get your $2,100 24 hours after he gets his clothes and his engagement ring. Do you understand?
Yes.
You're going to give her the $2,100 as soon as
I get my stuff, she can have it. No problem.
And you're going to get your stuff 5 days from today. 6 days from today, she gets her $2,100.
Sounds good.
Happy?
Yes.
Happy?
Can I just ask one question, Your Honor?
Yes.
What about the $300 that was put towards the ring? I didn't include that with the...
No, just a second.
Oh, okay.
You're absolutely right, because he's getting it back. So we have to add that on to the $2,100.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Sounds fair.
By the way, just for my own interest, why did you put $300 towards the ring? Is it true you wanted a different stone?
We changed the diamond.
You wanted a different diamond. Not we changed the diamond. He doesn't know anything about diamonds. Trust me, he knows nothing about diamonds.
It looked nice.
It looked nice. It looked nice. You wanted a different diamond, right? And he agreed.
Yes.
Fine. Then you agreed. Nice guy. So $2,400. What else?
My records, my DJ equipment.
Everything that belongs to him.
I'll give him everything back.
You give him everything back because one day after he gets everything back, you get your money.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you don't get your money. Right? Yes. Right? So now he's going to get everything back. Goodbye. Good luck. Have a happy life.
She was showing, bro.